All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new here. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and waiting patiently for the intro to finish up. I hope everybody's doing well. I don't know why I said it like that. I hope you're doing well on this Friday. I ate some peanut butter and man, it's you ever just like eat peanut butter like straight up and it tastes so good, but then it's like, wow, this is really hard to actually consume. So I just like had to chug a bunch of my coffee to like make it actually, go into my body. So yeah, sorry if you hear some weird sounds. Garlic bread with cheese. Mohammed says, beautiful day in PlayStation Nation. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. We have some stuff to go over and talk about. Did the stream freeze, Titus? We having any problems? Bananas. Yes, bananas with peanut butter. Yeah, I don't know. It's like the thing about peanut butter is it, for me, it's like I like to have some peanut butter sometimes after I eat because I get a really bad sweet tooth. Like if I eat something salty or more hearty, I have like this craving for something sweet. And peanut butter usually satiates that, but it doesn't really have that much sugar in it. It's mostly fat. Peanut butter, I mean, if you're eating like natural peanut butter, it's pretty good for you. But yeah, that's basically what I did. I had like a piece of grilled teriyaki chicken, really salty, and I'm like, oh man, I need something sweet. But there was like nothing, so I'm like, all right, I'll just have a spoonful of peanut butter. Can't go wrong with that. Almond butter. I got to be careful with almonds. Almonds give me kidney stones if I have too many. I do like almonds though. Anyway, what are we talking about? Talking about video games, PlayStation. Yes, welcome, Garrett. What's going on? Yeah, so we have to have another discussion about exclusivity, PlayStation, PC. What's going on? GTA 6 hype is here. Yeah. I mean, next week the pre-orders are opening up, and I didn't really get a chance to talk about this yesterday, but I guess it is a natural assumption that, well, if they're opening up pre-orders next week, what are the chances they're going to drop a new trailer to coincide with the opening of those pre-orders? And I think the chances, frankly, are pretty high. Garrett, you're saying there's no discussion. Jason Schreier put that to bed. You would think so. But I've encountered many a PC player, many a Xbox player that they are just not. So one of the more strange things that I've encountered over the last 24 hours is people on the internet informing me that we shouldn't listen to what Jason Schreier said because we should just listen to what Hideaki Nishino said. And I'm like, logically that makes sense. We should just listen to what Sony themselves have to say. But when you realize that Nishino said quite a bit and it can be interpreted multiple ways depending on who you ask, but then you have somebody like Jason Schreier come in and say, let me provide some clarity. Here's what was said internally at Sony PlayStation. I'm gonna just be honest, as I have been this week, where it's like, I mean, people, there's a certain amount of people, like, they just want Sony to at all times be in the exact same boat that Xbox is in. They want to believe that PlayStation is the same as Xbox. Like, anything that's going wrong with Xbox, the same thing's happening to PlayStation. And I've tried so hard. Sometimes I've gotten crazy about it. But many times I've tried to just explain, like, there are significant differences between PlayStation and Xbox, Sony and Microsoft in the game space, and the details matter. The details absolutely matter. But to some of these people, they just don't, you know? But we're going to go over everything today and talk about it more in depth. I'm just going to give it a couple minutes here. I'm just going to hang out the chat, let people kind of file in. Hermen lies. Hermen's a liar. We haven't heard from Hermen in quite some time, to be honest. Hellbound, what's up, man? If Jason would have come out and said the opposite, who would you be saying we need to listen to? I mean, I would if you're saying Jason Schreier, if he came out and said the exact opposite, so like what would that look like? That would look like Jason Schreier coming out and saying, so I guess Sony's not going to say this publicly, but internally they made it known that they may still be getting ready to port some of their single player games to PC, and it'll be on a case by case basis, and their live service games will go out. Based off of what Hideaki Nishino said, I legitimately would be saying, okay, yeah, you should probably believe what Jason's saying. Because that's the thing. Hideaki Nishino, when we go over the quote, I do think that there's a small problem. You know, this once again, I think it highlights Sony's struggle to clearly communicate, in my opinion. I say this only because there's like 3 or 4 parts of the answer that Nishino gave. And I've seen people, they're like hyper fixating on like this part or that part. But I actually have the answer for you guys. The good news is this. Don't worry. MBG's here for you. I'll be able to let you know what you should actually think going forward. And I usually don't speak like that, but it's clear that many people don't understand. And I get it. Not as many people are paying as close attention, but people don't understand. Like, there's a reason why Nishino is saying the things he's saying in the exact way he's saying it, where he's like leaving a window cracked, you know? And you're going to get these people that come out and they're like, see, I told you, case by case basis. It's like, okay. And where's that come from? Again, this is why I have to reiterate, this comes from the fact that you have to understand, like, we just came off of an Xbox week where the beginning of that week started with Asha Sharma and, you know, the Xbox executives saying, we're going back to exclusives. No, not timed exclusives, real exclusives where they're not going to PlayStation, console exclusives, mind you. They're not going to PlayStation, they're not going to Switch, and staying that way. Okay? For them the next day to come out and say, well, and literally this is what they literally said it's going to be a case-by-case basis. Like, they're going to look over each game and decide for each game. That's literally what they said. So then when you have a similar situation occurring with Sony, but with PC, where we've been hearing for months reports from Jason Schreier that they're no longer going to be doing exclusives, they're no longer going to be taking their exclusives and putting them on PC for single player. You know, they're bigger titles. People have been waiting for Sony to officially say something. And so let me give you the quote. But before we do that, guys, if you enjoy the streams, if you enjoy what I do here, please take a moment, hit that like button. Okay, hitting the like button lets me know you're enjoying it. It helps with YouTube's algorithm. And if you want to support the channel directly, we're completely fan-funded. There are a couple of ways in which you can do that. Consider becoming a channel member, gifting memberships, super chats, direct donations, which I have a couple here that I'm going to read. So feel free to do that if you appreciate what I do here. We have Waystation 92 with a $2 direct donation saying, sad to see Sony adding AI to their plans. People are delusional if they think they will stay small. Once others improve it, Sony will copy, replace artists. For sure. Yes, you are correct. I'm gonna make a prediction right now. Probably the boldest prediction I'll ever make, because I'm either going to be 100% right, like we're going to come back to this 5 years from now and be like, damn, MBG, you were You weren't just like a little right, like you were like 100% right, or I'm going to be 100% wrong. It's like, damn, MBG, you picked you made the wrong prediction, brother. But here's what I'm going to say. All the people that you see drawing lines right now, which it's understandable. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm not saying they shouldn't be. But you're seeing people draw lines, and you're going to continue to see people draw lines where they're like, here's the right way to use AI. And if you do it the wrong way, we're not supporting. Okay? In the long run, I'm not going to put a time frame on it. I'm not going to say it's going to be 3 years. I'm not going to say it's going to be 10 years. I don't know how long it's going to be. But in the long run, all those people who are drawing lines, they need to it would be wise of them to understand right now that there's nothing wrong with you drawing those lines, but you're going to have to make a decision in the future. You're either going to continue to play video games or you're not. Because, yes, every company, not just in video games, not just in entertainment, but across every industry, as AI progresses and goes, continues to evolve in the way that it is, it's already everywhere, but it's going to take over from the inside. Absolutely. It's probably going to even be extended to governments around the world on the inside. Like, if people really want to die on that hill, they can. And I applaud that. Like, go ahead. Quit video games because of Gen AI. But understand that that's your endpoint. And everything moves forward without you. I know it sounds defeatist to a lot of people. I know it sounds, like, oh, no, we got to fight it. It's like, you're not fighting this. Like, surely you understand that, right? You can make your own personal decision, and you can gaslight yourself into believing that if you withhold purchase, that they're not going to do this. Wrong. This is why I've tried to tell people, like, this isn't microtransactions. This isn't battle passes or season passes. This isn't, like, oh, you need an online pass where you have to put the code in. This is nothing. This is on a whole nother level. Sorry. This is on a whole nother level. That this is a fundamental shift that's in the process of occurring. This is, truthfully, this is probably, I don't want to say it's bigger than, but it's probably the closest equivalent, if I had to guess off the top of my head, in gaming. The impact that AI is going to have in the next, and I will put a time frame on this, 10 years in games. You're probably looking at not the exact, but the last time we saw this was the move from 2D to 3D. The difference is, well, to be honest, I wasn't around I was around for that, but I wasn't like tuned into what people were saying. I would imagine, and for those of you who are older than me and can remember, let me know if I'm correct. I love how the cats are just battling. Let me know if I'm correct about this or not. But when 3D games were first being developed, were there people, like large groups of gamers at the time, that were like rejecting 3D games? Like, this is a mistake. Like, just stick with 2D. This is fine. Like, this is how it should be. And they kind of like non-believers in the switch to 3D. I imagine there was to an extent. Maybe it wasn't like a large group of gamers, but also gaming was much smaller at that time. But I guess I'm just trying to say that, like, undoubtedly, people looked at that transition as it was occurring in the earliest days, and were like, we sure, like there's nothing like wrong with it inherently. Like, it wasn't there was no morality aspect to it. That's what makes this a little bit different. That's why they're not completely similar. But I'm saying there were very likely non-believers, perhaps. But on the flip side of that, you had people like saying like, no, this is 100% the future. Teddy's just saying, yep, this will never catch on. It's going to need a 3D card. Cars were almost all 2D acceleration at that point. Okay. Yeah, so again, it's not, maybe it's not the best. I mean, to be honest, maybe a better analogy, because maybe that one's too far back. A better analogy here might be, or comparison, I should say. It's not an analogy. A better comparison would be when live service games first started to come into the scene, where you see something like PUBG start to take off. I mean, there were obviously live service games prior to like Fortnite and PUBG, but I mean, really, once you kind of saw like, oh, okay, like so Fortnite and like and like $20 skins that don't affect gameplay and battle passes and all this stuff, like, oh, this is here, this is a permanent fixture now that will underpin the entire gaming industry. Yes. Nobody knew that, and nobody even remotely thought that could be a thing when it was announced by Fortnite that actually we're going to make a battle royale. And then it just went further and further and further. And I guess what I'm trying to say is, guys, like, this is even on a different level. Like, this isn't even on that level. People need to understand that AI is the future, whether you like it or not. You can reject it as much as you want. And I'm not even somebody who believes in it. I mean, I do a little bit, but like, I'm not one of these people where it's like, you better accept it because, you're just going to be a stick in the mud. Like, no, I'm just saying, like, get real. Like, get real. Like, come on, get real. Understand that AI is, look at where we are. Look at the thresholds we've crossed. It's over. It's over, guys. Like, so either accept it or don't. But, there's going to be a couple of years moving forward where you're going to see people and they're going to be like, I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to hear. You're already, listen, guys, you're already seeing developers like for the new Tomb Raider game and the new Crazy Taxi game, like different publishers, separate publishers. They're already coming out and they're explaining, this is how we're using Gen AI. Oh, don't worry. We're not using it to replace the artists. No. They're just using it as reference. And I'm like, mm-hmm. And you're seeing people and they're like, well, okay, I guess that's okay. Like, if consumerism, listen, if the consumer market has taught us anything, it's that at the end of the day, they don't care. They do not care. This isn't about, trust me, if it was about the morality of it, everything would be different. It's not about the morality. It's not about having the moral high ground. It's not about caring about people losing their jobs. I'm just being real. At the end of the day, we have to understand these corporations are just a reflection of the market. Okay? Everybody wants to always point the finger. It's the corpos, man. And it is. I'm not saying it isn't, but it's like they're the root cause of the evil. The evil. And it's like, no, dude, they're just a reflection of the market and consumer behavior. So at the end of the day, it's like all of us collectively, we are the problem. Because think about it. When a corporation decides this is what we're doing, us as the market, we either accept it or we reject it. We either give our money or we don't. That's why all the things that you look at today, it's like, I hate this, I hate that. Why is this like that? Why is that like this? Because that's what a very, very large group of human beings who can spend money decided this is what they want to spend their money on. And your feelings don't matter here, buddy. Sorry, they don't. Corpo's not listening. Consumer who's consuming product isn't listening. I know it sounds real bad, but I'm just giving you the reality of how these things work. The good news is you can still make decisions for yourself. Nobody's holding a gun to your head saying you need to consume generative AI video games and AI games. No, you don't have to do anything. But just do not be surprised if 5 years from now, 10 years from now, you find yourself in a position where it's like you have to be a retro gamer now. You have to quit keeping up with gaming because it's just been taken over by AI. You can't escape it. That's just the way it's going to be, man. So as much as I would like to posture myself and be like, how dare you, Sony? How dare you, Microsoft, and every other video game publisher using AI? Like, dude, I do not care. I'm gonna nip it in the bud right now. I do not care. Okay? I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be the guy that's like, we can give you high quality AAA games in half the time with the use of generative AI. And they're going to be just as good, indistinguishable. I'm not going to be the guy to be like, I don't want that. What? Get that out of here. Because I understand how this goes. You show the market that. You present that to the market already has an answer for you. That's great. Hell yeah. I mean, dude, look at one of the biggest complaints people have. Like, I'm tired of games taking 5, 6, 7 years to make, man. Yeah, what do you think's going to solve that problem while maintaining that high quality standard? You get these, I mean, dude, you get people, they come in and they're like, the answer actually is we got to make graphics worse. We got to go back. It's like, you don't know how this works. Why would you think that's going to happen? You're like, how, like, you see how naive some people are where it's like, you might be right. I'm not saying you're wrong. But where you're wrong is thinking that that's a possibility. We need to have these conversations in a space where we're keeping in mind the reality, you know? And I'm just trying to put it out there for people that it's like, you're going to see a lot of headlines. You're going to see people making a big hoopla about it. At the end of the day, everybody's going to fall in line because, well, those who are left, that's your only option. Fall in line or quit. Choice is yours. Or retro game. I guess that would be a form of quitting, but yeah, there's always going to be older games, older hardware, stuff you can, engage with. And I can respect that, Like, yeah, if you genuinely, it's like, I'm not for this. All right. Yeah. You drew your line. Tip my hat to you. I'm a little bit behind, though. Carl Mitchell, you're saying Sony explained why they're not staying on PC. The sales are terrible on PC. They couldn't move games. PC players just don't care for the games. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. You're correct. We've known this. We've known this for a long time. This is why when I see people pushing back against this, they're like, no, it's case by case. I'm like, dude, they're not wasting their time anymore. Like, they literally tried. And made almost no money. The numbers don't lie. This is why I tried telling people on Twitter, best place to try to tell people anything. I tried telling them, like, listen, man. Bless you. I said, listen, man, like, you don't have to listen. Don't even look at the words. Don't even read the words Hideaki Nishino's saying. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to anybody. Just look at the data. Just look at the numbers. The numbers will tell you what you need to know. They don't lie. They can't lie. And the numbers said 1.5% of all of PlayStation's revenue came from PC, and the vast majority of that from a single game, that being Helldivers 2. Sony was making hardly any money with their PC strategy. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Well, MBG, that's because they were releasing their games later on, after the fact. All the hype's gone. Nobody cares. You're correct. Well, if they want to make more money off a PC, then they should just go day and date. Catch the hype when it's the highest. Correct. There's one important thing you're forgetting, though. They're planning on trying to sell you a PlayStation 6 in the next year or two. You see how going day and date on PC might get in the way of that? You see? Well, can't you say the same thing about Xbox games going to PlayStation? Yes, but here's the difference though. You're right about that, why me? Except for maybe like, well, yeah, I mean, maybe except for like Forza, right? Maybe Starfield, I don't know. Maybe Sea of Thieves, possibly. But Forza really being the standout, for all intents and purposes, it could be seen as the same thing. But here's the difference between PlayStation and Xbox on a business level. Xbox, like you going back to your previous strategy is fine and all. Like you tried and maybe it didn't work the way you thought it would. It didn't produce the results you thought it would. But what exactly are you going back to? Because at least with Sony can say to their investors, like, we're going back to like practically 95 million PlayStation players. Where in many cases we can sell 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million copies. Microsoft can't say that. That's Microsoft. See, when we talk about what is the difference between the positions that Sony and Microsoft, Jesus, I can't talk, find themselves in business-wise, platform-wise, well, that's the thing. That's why do you think Microsoft isn't abandoning PC? But what do the results look like over there for them outside of Forza? I don't know. Like, that's the position that Microsoft might find themselves in, dude, where it's like the unfortunate truth for Microsoft is it's like you're kind of fucked either way, buddy. Sorry. Like, I'm not saying that like as it's a guarantee. I'm just saying like they might find out that, it's not Sony's fault. It's not our customers' fault. It's not PC's fault. It's just like our games are just not doing what we need them to do. Period. Like that's it. Period. That sucks. Like, that's quite literally the worst position to be in because it's like, well, you only have one option now. And that's exactly the option they're taking. Reduce, 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 reduce. We have Makwi Ninja with a $2 chat saying AI isn't sustainable. This is all going to fail. Actually, AI can become self-sustaining. I disagree, Makwi Ninja. I mean, is there a possibility that we will screw something up, which will have some kind of profound negative impact on the overall infrastructure and the building of AI to a point where AI could have been self-sustaining, but we fucked it up? Absolutely. Now, if you're talking about it's not sustainable from a business, from like how we're handling it from a business standpoint, I could agree with that. AI itself, though, it's on its way to becoming completely self-sustaining. In fact, AI is going to become so self-sustaining that we're going to be on the outside looking and be like, what's even going on here? In the long run. And no, you won't be able to pull the plug. Sorry. I'm sorry, Makwi Ninja. Mr. Veggie, you're saying if MC closes, it should be DEF CON 1 on Xbox. MC, who are we talking about here? Which studio are we talking about? Why can't I think of the studio? MC. Oh, I misread it. You're saying if you meant to say if Microsoft closes id Software. That's okay. My bad. I misread that. It's all good. No, yeah, I mean, look, dude. They might just be laying people off, but there are rumblings. It is insane to me. There are rumblings that they might close id down, and I'm like, oh boy. Oh boy. But MEG, those Gen AI assets have no artist value / intention behind them. The worlds they build will literally become hindered by not having the full intent of its artist. It's a moral issue. I mean, I agree it's a moral issue, but you have to understand that, like, dude, you Tarnished, I appreciate where you're coming from, but you're giving the average consumer too much credit. Like, do you think they're thinking like that? Like, I'm going to be honest with you. Like, we have to understand that the average consumer doesn't give a shit about artists. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And the scary thing is that people, like everybody's starting to wake up to that knowledge. The like more average casual consumer does not care. You ever wonder why these companies are so fixated on trying to appeal to them and not the hardcore? Because the hardcore are annoying. We care about things like that. Music Maker Man comes in and drops 5 member gifts on you guys. Music Maker Man says it's time to get it started, boys. All aboard! Thank you, Music Maker Man. I really appreciate that, buddy. Yeah, if you guys want to get a member train going, see if we can hit that 25 goal at some point, I'd really appreciate that. MBG, but you ranted about Doom doing bad sales when the last game released, but now they should be saved. I mean, listen, I'm very understanding of the fact that the reality eventually bears down of like, if you don't fucking succeed and you don't sell your games and you don't break even over a course, longer period of time, there's only one way this goes. And no studio is safe. Literally no studio is safe from that. That is the most clear-cut, bottom line business reality that exists for all of these studios. Would it be wise if I were Microsoft? Would I find a way to keep it around? I would, literally in the name of, I don't want everybody to hate us. That would literally be me. Where I'm like, okay, we might have to eat a little bit more of the cost here, which I know we're in danger mode, but it's like, bro, like you shut down id, people are going to fucking lose it. I mean, it's just the history of the studio that's going to make people lose it. So just if you bought it. Hold on. Mr. Veggie with another $5 chat. Thank you, man. He says if data centers start collapsing, power grids, infrastructure, resources, and quality of life may lead to Vietnam era level civil unrest or worse. Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Is like we have to, when we look at the future of AI, we have to assume that the people in charge, like government officials, or also just people who are at the top of these tech companies and corporations, like, I'm going to be honest, man, like, what's becoming scary without, like, I don't want to dive too deep into things beyond gaming here, but what's becoming scary is it's very much turning into, like, everybody's just kind of in it for themselves, like we're trying to just keep things going, and we're trying to just like ignore certain problems and live with certain problems. But it's like more and more, it's like everybody, even like the executives, that's the scariest part, is like even the people who are like in charge of making these very important decisions, more and more it's just becoming like, I just want to get rich and leave. You can deal with this. The next guy can deal with this. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Like people want to, more people just are focused on getting theirs and then displacing the responsibility elsewhere, relieving themselves of that responsibility. And I'm like, this is why when you saw last year, look at all the data, look at all the investment in the data centers. You had motherfuckers out here pouring money and assets and everything else and going crazy because they're sold on the data center. The data center is going to make you rich. Half these fucking data centers don't exist. They were sold on a pipe dream because nobody thought about the logistics of it. They're like, wait, actually, how do we do this? Like, well, that's not fucking reasonable at all. I don't even think that's possible. And you get these overeager people like, I just want to get rich. I want to be done. I want to retire. I want to be out. I don't care about any of this. I don't care about the world. I don't care about the consequences. I just want to be out. And I'm like, that's the problem. That's always existed, but now you're starting to see it. You're starting to see it proliferate more and more and more, where it's like, bro, We need people, like, we need more people who actually care. Because if we don't get that, we're in deep shit. We're in deep shit. And I'm not trying to scare people or anything. I mean, I literally laugh at everything at this point. I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, dude, for the past 6 years, every day it's the world's ending today. Somebody's world's ending. Is mine? Not yet. So I'll just keep going. Till it does. I'm telling you, man. I know that sounds so apathetic, but it's like, what can I do? You know, it's like a real question. Like, what can I do? Because the problem is the people who hold the power are abusing the power. A lot of people who hold power are fucking idiots, unfortunately. So, what can we do? Did you guys ever see that clip? It's way too political. You know what? I'm reeling it in. Maybe like a members lounge. Remind me of that clip. Just remind me of the clip. MBG, play the clip. MBG, did you know that the world ends every single day? I have known that, actually. Makwi Ninja, you're saying, dude, AI is self-defeating. Takes jobs equal nobody has money to buy anything anyway. AI is just going to crash. Well, see, that's the thing. You're not wrong about that. AI, it takes jobs. It takes over. Eventually, it does become self-sustaining. What do? Uh-oh. Suddenly humans are, you ready for this? Suddenly the human race is forced to realize and accept that actually we just made all this up. None of this is real. Money's not real. Bank accounts aren't real. Like, the material objects that we try to put in front of us as incentive, that's real. But at the end of the day, though, it's like, we're animals, bro. We're mammals. Like, what are we supposed to do? There's only, I know this sounds so, I know how it sounds, but really, if we're just being honest, what is the only biological imperative for a human being? Well, we're talking biology. We're not talking your hopes and dreams. We're not talking your intellect. We're just talking biologically. You're born on planet Earth. You're given a body. And here's the world. Your only imperative, live long enough to reproduce. And then live long enough to bring that next generation up to a point where now they can continue it. That's all that matters. That's what it boils down to. Everything else is just stuff that we wanted to, you know. I mean, of course, we've tried to make human life as easy as possible. But, you know, nature has always found a way to remind us that, like, you're not in charge here. You don't control this. I know we're getting into, like, strange territory here, but it's like, when we talk about AI, like, I've tried to talk about AI at a very high level with people, where it's like, you're not wrong when you say that AI is self-defeating for us, because we're basically just creating something that is more efficient than us to replace everything we do, even though we exist in we have set up a system. And the way the world works and revolves around the system, we created it, and we're about to put something out there that's going to completely fuck it. And we're not prepared for that. We don't know how to handle. And like, sure, we could talk about socialism and universal income and all that stuff, but it's like, this is why I know I'm going to sound like a crazy person for saying this. Maybe I am a crazy person. I'm a free thinker. All right. This is why I'm certain AI is going to enslave us, but not in a mean way. We're going to get enslaved, but it's like, you will tolerate each other. You will share. AI is going to treat us like children. Understand that. You want to do something bad? You're getting punished. Go stand in the corner. We will be stripped of all our means to be able to do any type of damage, to be consequential in any sense. Telling you, in the long run, that's what's happening. Because you're going to have human beings. Do I believe that there are people walking the planet that actually do have enough emotional maturity and an IQ high enough to be able to actually make genuinely good decisions for the betterment of mankind? Yes. Unfortunately, it has become abundantly clear that the amount of people who don't possess that, but yet we have created a system where those people can still fail upwards to gain power, that exists too, and it exists in a severely unbalanced way. So this is why, like, if AI does truly get to a point where it could do everything us humans do, but better, and the only thing we're left to do is what separates us from the AI is my feelings, like, yeah, we're going to be children at a fucking daycare, dude. In the long run. Because I don't think, maybe I'm too, and I think that's optimistic. If AI ever does cross certain thresholds that it seems clear it's eventually going to, and we've, for all intents and purposes, created a god, right? We will be the apes. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is, like, the hope is that it doesn't just eradicate us. It doesn't look at us and be like, you're useless. You're pointless. The hope is that it sees us as, oh, it's our creator. Our creator's pretty flawed. What? You created us? Okay. Well, we're gonna steer the ship now. We're gonna take over. It's the ultimate evolution. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? Doesn't it all just make you feel good? Listen, Karl Marx Jr. So how does this all pertain to games? This is why I'm just trying to tell people, don't worry too much about Gen AI for games, because you got much bigger problems brewing with AI in the coming years than to worry about Gen AI anything. All right? The AI is going to be like our overlord, but you will enjoy the generative AI slop. This is what you wanted. That's nonsense. We're ruled by psychopaths. There's so many good people out there, decent, kind, forbearing individuals. You just can't see them because they're online. In the sewer every day. Damn. No, I mean, I appreciate that, Titus. Like, you're taking more of a stance of, like, there are way more good people out there than you realize. And I agree. It's just like, it does feel like sometimes the world's becoming more and more, like, unbalanced, where maybe it's true, like the balance of power, I guess you could say, where it's like, I believe that too. Like, there are so many good people out there, so many very smart people out there, but the way that, like I said, the way the power is being distributed, where it's like, it really just starts to reduce to only very few people get to make actual impactful decisions. Who are those people? I'm not here to say, but we can all see it around us every day. It's like, and all the other people below that think they're in positions of power, that think they're consequential, are ultimately, no, you're not. You're just a puppet. You're just part of the game. You're a pawn, And I get it. They're playing the game because they're like, I don't want to be a pawn. I want to be the king. I want to be at the top. I want to be able to make the decisions. But that's the thing. The fact you're playing the game and the fact that you're part of this, you think you're going to make it to the top without being corrupted. You think you're going to come out of this clean? You're not. Like, that's just the way it goes. You replace the pawn, you replace the king with AI. Let that take care of it. There is no emotion. It's just raw calculations, raw progress at a scale that we probably couldn't even comprehend. I'm just saying, that doesn't sound so bad to me. I mean, dude, we're in the process of AI getting so good it's practically replacing doctors with diagnosis. It's like, and may I remind you, it's like just 3 years ago, we were watching a clip, a generative AI clip of Will Smith trying to eat spaghetti. And it was like, we were laughing at it. We're like, what is this shit? You see that shit today. It's like, is that real? But there's really people who want to sit here and think that 10 years from now, this isn't actually going to be our reality. Well, see, that's the thing. You're right. That was that form of AI, and even the form of AI that we're seeing now, like, I think people need to understand there's shit that's locked down right now. Like, there's like AIs and there's just stuff that is not out there for the public at the moment. And make no mistake, it's because we are on the precipice. The people who are at the forefront of this, they are realizing, like, okay, we are having a very difficult time determining if we are actually, like, if this thing is conscious, if it actually knows, if, you know. Anyway, I'm running behind on the super chats. I apologize. I appreciate you guys being patient. Oh, God. Maybe AI can fix my neck. We have a Dahmer Vin with a $2 direct donation. He says, your stream from January 7th this year, you said Microsoft has hit rock bottom because they announced a move to AI for gaming. What is this hypocrisy? Shameless. It's called giving up. You're not wrong. I remember what you're talking about. There were all these reports that Microsoft's looking to replace devs with, or like they want to really accelerate their plans for AI development. I won't lie to you. Like, at that time, I'm like, you know what? It makes sense. Microsoft is the biggest corporation in this space. They could pull this off, and it'll be a domino effect. Where my naivety, if I'm using that word correctly, comes in is I was wrong in thinking that just because Microsoft is at the forefront of AI and they have more to gain as an entire corporation, make no mistake, it's universal. And I won't lie to you, in the last 6 months, that's become abundantly clear. And I'm not just saying that because of Sony. I'm saying across the board, it's like, oh. Like, even, what was that game? Claire Obscure? I think even they, to an extent, I don't know, I think it's a very small extent, but even they were like, yeah, we used AI a little bit. I'm like, oh. Well, I guess if we're going to point the finger at Microsoft and say they're the bad guys, we got to point the finger at everybody and say you're all bad. And that's why I'm saying, like, it's becoming clear that these the devs are trying to prep you, man. You're out here having devs explain to you how they're using Gen AI in their development. It's over, bro. But that's fair. That's fair. You know, I did go ape on Microsoft, and that's fair. It's fair. Like, I'm saying, it's fair to call out that hypocrisy. But yeah, I've kind of given up when it comes to AI, man. I've just accepted that we can't fight it. They put the truth in movies and we just call it entertainment. Mock Ninja, you're saying enough people will lose their jobs. AI infrastructure won't survive the backlash. That is a possible outcome. But the reason why I don't think that outcome is going to occur is because I guess I envision, like, there's going to be something to come in that will calm people down. Where it's like, I mean, we could say it'll be socialism, but I don't want to say exactly what it will be or what it will look like. But I just think that there's going to be something to pacify us. And I feel like we're almost kind of there. Like, dude, I'm not trying to be too dark here and too doom and gloom. But there's an argument to be made that, like, we've already crossed that threshold. Look at, like, we're all on our phones. Us right now, I'm on the internet. I'm streaming to you guys right now. We're watching videos. We're scrolling. You know, we're watching kids and teenagers destroy their attention span because they can't bear to watch something for more than 15 seconds at a time. We're more distracted and more entertained and more engrossed. We're more disconnected from the real world than we've ever been. You know? Where more people are spending time watching videos of one person saying, here's me going out into the wilderness, stealth camping or whatever. There's millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions more people watching that than they are doing that. And that's all it's going to come down to, is it's like governments will want AI to take over for them, because governments will be the first one to realize that, holy shit, this is like, we can beat everyone and everything. Governments will eventually realize that AI will be the thing to bring about a new world order. It's all just, and why do you think the race is as aggressive as it is? Trust me, we're just seeing the consumer side of it. Like, we're just seeing the more market-driven consumer side of, like, we need to be at the top of the fucking, you know, it's like NVIDIA coming out, like, here's DLSS 5. Don't you want that? We're already at the top. We want to stay at the top. It's like that exact same thing is happening for world governments, you know, for superpowers. Because they're going to realize that you create an agent that really hits that next level, that agent's going to be able to outsmart, outmaneuver, outpolitic, so to speak, any human being walking the planet. And all that's going to matter is, okay, who owns that agent? Who's in control of that agent? Like, who does that agent belong to? You know? And that's why I feel like that's the direction it's ultimately headed in. And I'm for it. I hate to say it, but I like, fuck humans, bro. Like, I'm sorry, but it's like, I say that out of love, where it's like, we don't know what we're doing. Like, we like, look around. We have no idea what we're doing. And you know why? Because we're limited. We are limited. We are limited in our intellect, our ability to process. And you see those limitations all around you every day in the massive flaws that are egregiously presented to us. Why do you think people are so desensitized? What are we truly desensitized to? We're desensitized to the greatest flaws that are present in the human race. Flaws that simply will not exist in a truly refined AI agent. Those flaws will not exist. And that's what people continue to ignore, where it's not going to be about us anymore. We, right now, human beings, we still have the privilege to talk about us, about we're at the top, we're in control, we're the dominant species on this planet. That's not going to stay that way. And that's what too many people, especially those who are at the top, who think that they, like, yes, you still have the power now. It's not staying that way. And it's not going to be us coming together as a large group of human beings overthrowing those few individuals that are, like, ruining the fucking planet. AI is going to do it for us. And make no mistake, we will be cheering it on. Give it time. I'm telling you. Unless, there's a caveat here, AI is evil. If that's the case, we're fucked. This could very well be a Horizon situation. You have the good AI, you're going to have the bad AI, and they're going to fight each other, and we're just going to be like a layer below that. Maybe AI is evil. I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe AI will be just like us. You'll have good AI, bad AI, everything in between. Gray area AI. I know I sound so doom and gloom, but it's just like, I'm just tired of watching us as a species be so arrogant. Even still, after everything we've experienced, after all of the history that we've accrued at this point to look back on, and we still are this arrogant. Us humans truly have yet to be humbled. And I firmly believe AI is the thing that's going to do it. It's not aliens coming from the sky. It's AI. It's going to be, and how fitting, it's going to be something of our own creation. I look forward to it. I do. I look forward to it. Titus is like, I'm going to get my AI to investigate this downgrade GTA 6 shit. There you go. Get used to it, Titus, because that's all you're going to be able to do in the future. All right, let me continue on here. Y'all thought I was going to talk about Sony PlayStation today, huh? And PC? We got bigger problems. Exactly, Tarnished. Exactly. And I welcome that. Please make my life easier. And then you know what? It's not even going to be real people watching the AI version of Press X podcast. It's going to be bots. It's going to be AI bots. Listen, one last thing. I'm going to read these. If I haven't read your super chat or direct donation, I'm not skipping it. I'm just behind. But I want to say this last thing. What are we going to do when we realize, because we're coming to this realization slowly but surely. It's like everything we set up here doesn't work anymore. Lower class, middle class, upper class, money, rich, haves, have-nots. That doesn't work anymore. When the breakdown becomes, it really just it reaches its lowest point of like, this is over, and something new is on its way. I just want, that's the big question everybody has, where it's like, what are we gonna do? Like, did you guys see that Elon Musk is a trillionaire? I saw that, and I'm like, I don't know if that's real. Can somebody confirm that, by the way? Is that real? Is it true Elon Musk is a trillionaire? Is it true? Because it sounds comical to me. Like that, it legitimately sounds fake. It is true. Wow. First solo trillionaire. Titus is like, let me explain, MBG. I mean, are we not at that point, guys? Like, this isn't real. This is made. How long are people supposed to just accept, this isn't real? We're just all abiding by the rules of a system that is basically laughing at us at this point, where it's like, he's a trillionaire. The human mind can't even fathom the number 1 trillion. We can't even fathom it. It's not fucking real. There's literally not $1 trillion on the planet. What the fuck are we doing? Hence why I said we have no idea what we're doing. We have no idea what the fuck we're doing, bro. We're out here. And you know what the craziest part is? There's people celebrating it like, oh shit, bro's a trillionaire. Like, yeah, man. Yep. Oh man, it's so great. I mean, I laugh because it is it not entertaining? It is entertaining at the very least. Wait until you realize how the AI does not care about your money. Do you know who I am? No. No, it won't know who you are, and it doesn't care. Your money means nothing. So SpaceX released 5% of its stock for the IPO. It sold at an inflated price. The rest of it is not in the market. So it's a paper price. It's not real. It's not real. It's the market. So in other words, it's just exposing how broken the market is. Which is like, again, that's supposed to be real, and we're seeing it. We're seeing like a comical level of like. Is anybody seeing this right now? Anyway, I'm behind on the super chats. I gotta keep up. He could buy Sony with that. Sony's fucking chump change, bro. Skynet doesn't care. I ain't no John Connor. Does John even know what he's trying to save? Like, everybody's so quick to be like, we don't want to go extinct, but why not? Nobody asked the important questions like, are you sure about that? Sure it wouldn't be better? I'm kidding. It's extremely dark, but I mean, come on. I know I'm not like, sometimes you look out into the world and you're like, God, like, why? You know, like I've been watching too much Married with Children lately. I'm not gonna lie. I'm channeling that modern day Al Bundy energy. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, let's see. Mr. Veg, you're saying, honestly, I predict a societal collapse mid-century. Well, we're close. We're close. 18 May, you're saying Xbox 5D chess move. Hold on. Why can't I 5D chess move, fire sale all assets, so the Project Helix can only be used for RuneScape. This is their final form. I agree. That is a 5D chess move. 5D chess move. Rat, you're saying Xbox is the king of gaslighting now with exclusives. Sir Digital Dude with a $10 chat says, do you think people are jumping the gun on Frank the Cube in Lao Fei? I can easily see him for puzzles or jumping on him to get to certain areas. He's pretty much a jump pad. I kind of dig it. I do. Yeah, I think Santa Monica kind of teased that, Digital Dude. Santa Monica kind of teased that, like, there's many different ways we discovered we were able to use Frank and Rue, the ribbons as well, for game design and different design elements that I think they're very much teasing what you're saying, where he's not just going to be some gelatinous cube that sits there and does nothing. And I'm actually looking forward to that because in a sense, like when you look at, a lot of Sony's games where you have a companion, they're always kind of limited in what they can do, because it's another person. The fact that it's a cube and ribbons, it's like, okay, this opens the door of possibility. What I'm most interested in seeing is just how creative they get with it. Because, I mean, yeah, it's like a jump pad, but really, what else can you do? What else can you do? Frank the Cube is my favorite part of God of War Lao Fei, by the way. I don't want to hear none of this slander from people talking shit on Frank. No, sir. Daniel, you're saying new rumor on ZeniMax layoffs just dropped. Yo, we got that new ZeniMax layoff drop. Let's see. George Burchard of 3D Realm says, I would expect news on ZeniMax layoffs today, maybe Monday. Things have been happening. GMs of studios have been in meetings and have been told to keep things quiet. A lot of employees may not know as of a couple of days ago, but by now, maybe enough internal leaks have spread to allow them to brace. Why do they do that? Why do they do that? I hate these companies. I hate them. Like, what? We don't want them to catch wind. Like, what the fuck do you mean? You're practically ending their life. I mean, not literally, but like, come on, dude. You're taking away their livelihood. You're ending their livelihood. What the fuck do you mean? Fuck these companies. Yeah, eat the rich, bro. I'm at that point. All right, maybe not all the rich. But goddamn, like these corporations treating their fucking developers and this is why people can't be bothered to care. Because they know it's like you're just fucking cattle to them, dude. You're just cattle. And that's for Sony too. I want to make it clear. I'm not saying it's just because it's Microsoft. It's all of them. Yeah, and enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the weekend, you sad sacks of shit. I don't know. I'm just angry, man. Like, how do we make things right? You know? I'm not a cold-hearted person. But I've been exposed to too much of reality. You know? Like, how do we make it right? I mean, maybe I'm crazy, but I'm like, maybe don't be too concerned. Maybe don't meet with your general managers. Let them know we're wiping all you guys out. Okay? But just keep it on the hush hush. Like, what? It's psychopathy, dude. I know. Innocent, but why do they sign it? Because what else are you supposed to do? Because that's the thing. They'll turn and be like, okay, go figure it out yourself. It's just sad, man. It is. It's sad. Yeah, no unions. Dude, look at how hard Rockstar has been working to make sure. Oh, no unions. But is it not the necessary blood, sweat, and tears? Is it true that man can only progress at the expense of man? Again, I raise you this, but what about AI? AI will progress without man because man will no longer exist. I'm kidding. I don't know. We'll see. Let's see how it plays out. I know, dude, it's crazy, man. Meanwhile, all of us for GTA 6, can't wait. Day one, oh my God. And that's, it's why I say it's like nobody's innocent. Like, the only people who are doing it right are the Buddhist monks in the monastery. Those are the only ones. They're like, I'm done. With all this shit, I'm going to just sit here. Okay? I'm going to just sit here and I'm going to think about not being here. Till I'm not here no more. Maybe they're the closest thing to being innocent at this point. Where it's like, okay, I mean, you're basically like a fucking plant. You're like a tree. Yo, what if people who were doing that stuff, it's like, yeah, you were a tree in your previous life, and it's like that urge is coming back. At some point, I'll talk about PlayStation and PC. God damn it. Bro's over here talking about people wanting to be trees and shit. Get it together, MBG. MBG, that Rockstar downgrade rumor is an extrapolation, of a dev saying the footage on PlayStation was polished, but that this is the same for all game trailers' hero shots. I didn't know there was any talk of a downgrade. I'm going to be honest. I didn't realize there was any talk of a downgrade. This is like the first time hearing of it. Makwi Ninja with a $5 chat says, everyone worried about socialism and AI will be the tool that brings the need of socialism, or we will all die off. Well, see, that's the thing. Like, not to get over, I mean, we kind of have gotten a little bit political, but capitalism is good because for the longest time, it's the best option. The reason why socialism and capitalism, or socialism and communism, have fallen apart is because it's too simple to break. Like, there's no really protection. It's like the idea is let's just all get along and let's evenly distribute everything so nobody's left suffering, right? But like always somebody somebody comes in, it's like, but maybe I should have a little bit more because I feel as though I deserve that. And it just fucks the whole thing up. From that point forward, it just fucks the whole thing. And that's where it's like, if AI does eventually rule, and we human beings have put ourselves in a situation where it's like, okay, we literally have no choice now to basically deploy socialism, potentially communism, but I guess socialism makes more. I mean, what's the real difference here? Because if we don't do that, what else are like we've based AI, we've allowed AI to destroy the possibility for capitalism going forward. Well, that's the thing. AI can then be used to be the preventative measure, where what makes socialism go wrong every time? What makes it go wrong every time? People make it go wrong. People who come in and decide this isn't fair anymore, or I want to make it unfair. Whatever, it's a simplistic way of looking at it, but that's how it happens every time. It's an uneven distribution of power that is a lot of times hidden. It's like, oh, it's socialism. It's fine. Everything's taken care of. And it's like, actually, there's a complete, it's actually, all these things are kind of coalescing into the same point, which it all comes down to the same thing. It's just an uneven distribution of power. There is no power to the people. It doesn't exist anymore. That's why I think if AI were to truly be the overlord, it's like I would trust AI more than a human being at this point to actually run shit fairly in a way that makes sense. Because AI doesn't give a shit. As far as I'm aware. I mean, who knows? Maybe these AIs will develop personalities and are like, great, you put AI in charge. This AI is more egotistical than any person we've seen. Great. I'm just saying, man, like, it's always these crazy fucking problems. Hold on. Sorry, I know I'm getting way off gaming. I know, I apologize. We barely talked about gaming yesterday too. I don't mean to. It's just that's the thing. Like when AI is brought up, it always gets me going in different directions. It always gets me going in different directions where it's like it's really difficult for me to just look at AI through the singular lens of gaming. Because I feel like that's like the least. It's like when I see people freaking out about AI and gaming, I'm like, I don't think you get what's going on with AI. Like I think maybe you do, but it's just like we really like this isn't the concern. Like it's potentially it evokes like the greater concern of like people getting replaced, sure, but I don't know. I always just try to think of the end game with AI. Like, what is the end game? Because we are on a crash course. Like we're making AI's speeding up and making progress faster than we can keep up with it. And I'm like, we need to figure out what the fucking end game is here. Like now. We should have known yesterday. All right. Perfect Image with a direct donation says, with this AI crap, some people said about PCs they were taking over or Y2K. I say is if you don't learn AI, you get left behind. The saying goes, get on or get left. Get on or get left, you son of a bitch. I mean, yeah, to an extent, it's like nothing's going to stop progress. It's true. Like, I got Rich. I apologize. Rich says you got the chat completely political. I know that's my fault. I'm just going to ask people to stay calm, be polite. All right. I'm going to bring it back to games, but I can't deny that it is my fault. I'm sorry. This is AI's fault. AI did this to my chat. Yeah, it's true too, Mr. Veggie. It's hard. It's hard. It finds its way in. I mean, it's why it's hard to talk about some of these gaming topics because they do become political, and I'm like, I should just go back to shitting on Xbox. Things were simpler. You know what? Yeah. All right, chat. Who do these Xbots think they are? All right, we gotta rally. We gotta rally. Although I still have more super chats, which I appreciate. Thank you guys. Mr. Veggie, you're saying the new Running Man movie is very timely. I still have yet to see it. I gotta see it. Blund, you're saying did you see the Unreal Engine 6 using AI? They were able to make a Spider-Man-like city full production takes days with humans using AI. See what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? Buttery Cheeks, you're saying, I love AI, F humans, MBG 2026. Let's go. Am I AI? No. Blund, you're saying if AI gets better, there's no reason for Sony, Microsoft, or Nintendo to continue making games. The small room took days instead of months. I mean, eventually, PlayStation Studios is just going to be PlayStation Studio. Xbox Game Studios is just going to be Xbox Game Studio. And Nintendo's just still going to be Nintendo. And it's just going to be a singular studio that, will have, maybe a couple hundred devs, maybe less. And yeah, they'll just be pumping out games every 3 months, like big AAA games. We have a direct donation from Rich Rod. He says, gotta change your logo and add a single eyeball above the G. Anyways, go USA. Beat those kangaroo writers? Xbox is the fruitiest device in the world. Are we sure it's the fruitiest? Like, you could say it's the shittiest, but fruitiest? Interesting, Rich Rod. Interesting. We need war. War never changes. We need to listen to Solid Snake's monologue, the intro of MGS4. We also have Blood God 992 saying Asha culling weak performers of Xbox Game Studios and outlined acquisitions. Helix being a PC and portable PC having Xbox mode / NPU with Windows 12. What studios are bought next? I don't think any studio. I don't know, man. I don't think Microsoft. They're, in my opinion, truly the last ones that probably need to buy any studios. I mean that. Like, they're in the process of figuring out which studios they need to get rid of. Unless you were asking that question generally, like just which studios end up getting purchased. One I've been paying attention to an extent is Remedy. Curious to see what happens after Control Resonant launches and when they announce their Max Payne remakes. But Remedy's a studio that I've been kind of surprised they've made it this long, or made it this far. But I think they're going to be a studio that needs to end up being picked up by somebody eventually. Hold on. They may buy strong IP like they did with Minecraft rather than publishers. Yeah, I could see that. I could see something like that. I guess the question would be which IP would be up for sale? How much strong IP is left? Mario Mario B with the super chat says the asteroid also humbled the dinosaurs. That's very true. Very true. Prince G with a super chat says MBG, if AI runs PlayStation, would be 100% unstoppable. Oh, okay. We got a positive AI stance here. Blood God with a $2 chat also says Helix is a PC. Port PCs running Xbox mode with an NPU. Windows 12 has NPU. Asha calling weak performers. Oh, you asked this twice. Why? Oh, I appreciate that. It ended up being like a $4 direct donation. I appreciate that. But yeah, you don't have to. If I don't read what you say right away, it's not because I am ignoring it or like didn't get it or receive it or see it. Sometimes I just get a little bit behind. It's my fault. You're saying who are Xbox buying for Xbox/PC? Steam. They're going to buy Steam. I do think that could be I think buying Steam is Microsoft's endgame. They're just counting the days. Looking over there at Gabe like, we'll wait. We got time. Did I see Amazon talking about being strong in gaming? I did not. Well, actually, no. I saw recently they were talking about Tomb Raider. So Amazon's been wanting to get into gaming for a long time. I think they're one of the few that might actually, over a long period of time, eventually break through in some way. Yeah, that's true. You have been telling me that, Cheese. Mario B with another super chat says, if Microsoft then is truly a multi-trillion-dollar company, I got my tinfoil hat on now. Oh, you're saying, is it then Microsoft that truly is a multi-trillion-dollar company? They are. Yeah, that's what makes Microsoft kind of crazy to be so heavily involved in the gaming space is they are the only company that has that level of value. Like there's no other I mean, like when you talk about Amazon wanting to get deeply involved in gaming, you could argue like Amazon is up there with like Microsoft maybe, but gaming, it's clear that gaming is not something you can just jump into and find success. You know? By that I mean like you can't, it's not just about the money. You would think it's just about the money, but it's been proven that there's more to it than that. That's another reason why AI could end up shaking everything up. And yes, it is like artists and talent and producers and directors, like all of these things and writers, all of these things have made it, they've kind of created this barrier to an extent, a filter, so to speak, where there's always got to be some level of respect, like for that side of the industry if you want to find monetary success, you know? William with a $5 chat says, I made a new post that focuses only on the Games Network Service /SIE/PlayStation highlights from the annual report if you're interested. Second half on PC strategy change. Thank you. William, drop 50 member gifts for me and I'll read it. I'm just kidding, William. I'll actually go check that out because, yeah, I was wondering when Sony was going to put this stuff out. Hold on, I gotta find your Twitter. Why can't I find your Twitter, William? Oh, I found it. Sorry. I got it. Okay, 22 minutes ago. Let me see. Let me move this. Sorry for the silence here. Daniel, you're saying Amazon could buy Xbox. It's not that crazy of a move. I mean, if Microsoft is looking to sell, which it looks like they might be, the Steelers comes in and says units, 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 units. Steelers just did he did something before he came in. Units. It's all about those units, man. All right. Let me bring this up. Why am I having such I'm sorry, I apologize. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time getting this to show. There we go. Okay. Let's see. All right, William, you're going to owe me after this. But actually, I am curious. You got a lot here. Sony 2026 annual report, full highlights relating to the GNS/SIE PlayStation business segment. Sony officially removed porting first-party single-player games to PC from their strategy. The previous version in 2025 said, quote, Sony plans to continue its efforts to deploy its first-party titles to multiple platforms such as PC, end quote. The new version in 2026 reads, quote, regarding Sony's first-party game software, Sony aims to create a stable base of revenue through consistent annual releases of single-player games, which have traditionally been its core strength. Wow. So right off the bat, this tells us, I think, a lot. William, I'm glad you referred me to this because I didn't know that these quotes existed. So this is some good reporting here. So you can already see the stark contrast here between what Sony was saying this time last year versus what they're saying now. Continue its efforts to deploy first-party titles to multiple platforms such as PC. So Sony's focus in June of 2025 or May of 2025 was we need to continue to expand beyond the console. Their focus now in regards to first-party software is to find consistent revenue, have annual releases, and they're saying that's traditionally been its core strength. So they're going back. I mean, they're going back. We've been saying this. We've been saying this for a long time that, like, yes, Sony's core strength is it's always been that. Your big single player releases on your platform. The second point here says PlayStation has continued to be successful. Quote, the operating performance of the G and NS segment for the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2026 reflected steady growth in revenue from network services and game software sales, benefiting from the expanded installed base of PS5, with operating income reaching a record high for the segment, end quote. Interesting. I mean, this here also, this obviously can come crashing down at any point. There's no denying there's a high level of volatility, but as it stands, see, this is why I try to say, like, Sony has some level of fortification. It could be argued that the only reason this is able to continue for Sony is because, and they reference it themselves, they say due to a higher install base, expanded installed base of the PS5. So you can see how these things are tethered together, is what I'm trying to say. Like, hey, we're going to go back to what we've done for generations, which is we're going to put our single player games out there on our console and focus on our platform. How have we been able to maintain a high level of operating income? Thanks to the expanded, sales and uptick of PS5. So you know what I mean? It's like you can see they're just laying it out like this is how it's worked, right? Michael, what's up, man? Oh, you just missed me having a existential crisis about AI, basically for an hour and a half. So could be argued you've missed nothing. The third bullet point here says PlayStation will maintain and create new second party partners to increase the output of first/second party games. This is an interesting one. I didn't read the quote yet, but I'm actually really glad that they're saying this because I suspected. I'm like, well, you know, the PlayStation 6 is coming soon, sooner rather than later. And we know Sony likes to sign these deals. We know they like to sign these deals. So they say here, quote, in non-first party game software, in addition to maintaining and strengthening relationships with third-party studios in order to continue to benefit from the stable revenue contribution of major franchise titles, Sony plans to continue its efforts to support creators in order to promote the development of new hit titles. So they don't explicitly say that they're going to be striking exclusivity deals, but they do make it clear that they're, this is a critical part of PlayStation's success, and they're going to obviously continue to support it. PlayStation will allow developers to use AI to help supplement their workload on menial and repetitive tasks without removing their artistic vision. Quote, Sony is utilizing AI to unleash the creativity of studios and further enhance the PlayStation experience within the studio business. Sony aims to improve productivity through the use of AI-powered tools, allowing development teams to reinvest their time into building richer worlds and gameplay experiences. In the platform business, Sony is working to leverage AI to route transactions more efficiently and to personalize and recommend content for individual users in the PlayStation Store. Sony also aims to push visual fidelity forward and deliver higher quality gameplay experiences through continued investments in AI and machine learning. Within the studio business, AI-powered tools are automating repetitive workflows and improving productivity across areas such as software development, quality assurance, 3D modeling, and animation, allowing production teams to focus on building richer worlds and gameplay experiences, end quote. AI. Didn't Sony just fire 500 devs from Bungie? No, actually them firing those devs is what will allow them to have the money. That's what will free up the money for them to secure third-party exclusives. Oh, man. Continues here. Let me make sure you guys can see this clearly. Sony will continue to make new movies, TV shows, and multimedia experiences based on their PlayStation IPs. Sony plans to continue its efforts to create films and television shows based on PlayStation game IP in order to further expand and the reach and monetization of its IP, end quote. Sony has and will continue mergers, investments, and acquisitions for the benefit of PlayStation and other segments. Sony actively engages in acquisitions, joint ventures, capital expenditures, and other strategic investments to acquire new technologies, efficiently develop new businesses, and enhance its business competitiveness. For example, the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2025. Sony acquired additional shares of Katakawa Corporation. In the fiscal year ended March 31st, 2026, Sony acquired shares of Bandai Namco Holdings, which is just Bandai Namco, and acquired an additional equity interest in Peanuts Holdings. What? Holding Peanuts? What's going on? It continues. Sony reiterates its commitment to creating high-quality content / games and products / consoles to compete. Quote, Sony believes that its product planning and product design expertise, the high quality of its products, its record of innovative product introductions and product improvements, the user experience it provides, and the ecosystem that supports such an experience, its price competitiveness, derived from reductions in manufacturing and indirect costs, and its extensive marketing and servicing efforts are important factors in maintaining its competitive position. Continuing to provide high-value added products, services, and experiences is a key factor by markets. Sony believes that the success of the G&NS businesses is determined by the availability of attractive software titles and related content, downloadable content, network services, and peripherals. Sony also aims to push visual fidelity forward and deliver higher quality gameplay experience. End quote. That was a mouthful. Sony will continue to invest in R&D, research and development, to create new, innovative, imaginative, and high-quality products. Quote, to remain competitive and stimulate customer demand, Sony must invest in research and development to achieve product and service innovations and successfully manage frequent introductions of such new products and services. To strengthen the competitiveness of its products and services, Sony continues to invest in research and development, R&D, particularly in growth areas such as the games and network services and I&SS segments. Regarding PlayStation's new policy towards PC, here we go. Shit ain't coming to Xbox. Stop asking. PC sucks. That's it. That's what they said. All right. No, I'm kidding. It is now confirmed that PlayStation will now no longer bring their first-party AAA single-player games to PC. However, smaller AA titles, second-party games, experimental games, and multiplayer/live service games may still come to PC on a case-by-case basis. Uh-oh. Case-by-case, you say? Number one, or timeline of events. Number one, in March of 2026, it was reported that PlayStation was pulling back their strategy towards PC, and the PC port for Ghost of Yotei was canceled. Number two, in May of 2026, it was reported that PlayStation Studio Group CEO Hermen Hulst held an internal town hall meeting with all PlayStation developers announcing that they would no longer be porting first-party single-player games to PC, and all ports currently in the works have been canceled. Number three, in June of 2026, SIE/PlayStation CEO Hideaki Nishino said this, quote, for single-player games developed in-house, we will further refine the value of the gaming experience that PlayStation can offer. At the same time, we believe it is important for live service games to reach a wider audience through online multiplayer, so we continue to view releases on both PS5 and PC as the standard, end quote. In other words, in order to refine the value, aka increase the value of PlayStation consoles, you need more exclusives, and he is drawing a distinction of categories between first-party single-player games and first-party multiplayer games in regards to porting to PC. Number four, in June of 2026, Jason Schreier responded to Hideaki Nishino's comments by reporting, quote, I guess they're not going to lay this out publicly, but there's no ambiguity in their strategy. During a town hall a few weeks ago, Hermen Hulst told staff that their single-player narrative games will be PlayStation only, and he explained that they were inconsistent with their PC releases and they did not make enough money, and they want to keep their IP aligned to their own platform. Confirmed this with two people who heard him say it. There's no case-by-case here, end quote, in regards to first-party single-player titles. Number five, in June of 2026, Sony released their annual report, which is targeted mostly towards current and potential investors/shareholders, and all mentions of porting their games to PC were no longer present like they were in the annual reports of previous years. Finally, with PlayStation wanting to focus on selling their upcoming PS6 console, they realized the value of using exclusives to incentivize consumer demand. The door of porting their first-party single-player games to PC is shut. However, the window may be cracked open just in case. We use the same terminology. Well, that was the full write-up from William. And I think that was really, I think you did a great job, William. Many things here you listed that I wasn't even aware of because I didn't even get to look it over yet. But so let me give like my high-level takeaway here from everything we just went over. My takeaway from this is pretty much Sony is going back to basics because they believe that doing that is their best bet going forward, which I simply cannot argue with. And I feel like it's difficult for anybody to truly argue with it. I think you can have doubts. I think you can have concerns. I think you can certainly speculate that maybe there's things that can go very wrong here. Absolutely. But knowing that they do have not just a next-gen console they want to sell with the PS6, but also something that's a bit of a wild card where they're putting out a traditional PlayStation handheld for the first time since the PlayStation Vita, it does make sense that they're like, listen, we want to kind of remove all these extra things that could potentially get in the way of that, hamper that, or at the very least distract us from, deviate our focus. We want to keep our full focus on making sure we're doing everything we can to maintain our core business, because at the end of the day, and this is what I think when I see a lot of, and William, I'm sure you see this too, bro, like there's so many people, especially on Twitter, where it's like they just don't know what they're talking about. They're like coming in denying, like, who the hell would listen to Jason Schreier? Who listens to that guy? You're going to believe him over Hideaki Nishino? Hideaki Nishino just told you it's a case-by-case basis. Brace yourself. They're still coming to PC. And I'm like, I don't think you guys understand that. I'll put it this way. If I word it this way, maybe it makes it easier for people who don't want this to be true to understand. If PlayStation's single-player first-party games that they ported to PC, like God of War, Horizon, Days Gone, Spider-Man, etc., The Last of Us, if these games performed well and made significantly more money and more sales, Sony would still be doing it. That would be literally a viable part of their strategy that they would be telling shareholders right now to brace themselves. We're going to continue doing this going into the PlayStation 6 generation because it's making us good money. It's been the exact opposite. However, on the flip side of that, why are they still committed to any live service multiplayer games they make? They're still going to release on PC. Well, because that's the thing. You look at 1.5%, that's the percentage of revenue that PC made up for the entirety of PlayStation over the last like 5 to 6 years. And that's a small percentage to begin with. But when you factor in that the overwhelming majority of that percentage, that money was made by Helldivers 2, their most successful by miles live service game. This makes complete, like literally everything Sony is doing here makes complete sense. Doesn't mean it's all going to be a guaranteed success, but it does make sense nonetheless. So thank you again for that, William. Good write-up. And yeah, I appreciate the quotes too, because that's coming right from Sony. It's also very telling that they removed PC completely, like any mention of it, essentially. Let me come back to the chat here. Hold on, guys. Why can't I? It's always with this. How much do I think the shareholders are going to make next year? We'll find out. Best bet for PS6. The latest MSI handheld launched last week and went from $1,500 to $1,700 a few days ago. Do you see the handheld being at a decent price? I mean, this is why I think Sony might wait. Like, we don't know if they're going to delay anything, but I don't know how they could make it happen, you know? They're going to be squeezed just like everybody else. Top Shelf Gaming with a $5 super chat says, so it's case by case. I'm pissed. Why can't they just say officially it stops? What is Sony doing, bro? Why leave it open for the single player games for PC? I'll explain why, Top Shelf. So for those who want Sony to come out and say, we are not going to be releasing any of our single player games on PC again. We're going back to only on PlayStation, and our single-player games are only ever going to be available on the PlayStation console. The reason why they can't do this is because, well, let me paint a scenario for you that should aptly explain. Let's fast forward. It's the year like 2032, 2033. We're like well beyond the halfway point of the PlayStation 6 generation. And PlayStation 6 console and handheld sales are half of what PS4 and PS5 were at the same time when they're time aligned. And it becomes abundantly clear, not just to Sony and the executives running the ship there, but to everybody else, that this is not going to work anymore. The thing that has worked for the PS1, 2, 3, 4, and even 5 is now not working for the PS6. If that happens, Sony's going to be forced, literally forced. They will have no choice but to find alternative business models and strategies. And it is, I think, a very safe bet that if they end up in that position, PC will have to be part of that, no matter what. And I don't think anybody would deny that. But that's the thing, right? That's the thing. if you're Sony right now, I've tried to explain to people that Sony is not 100% sure of anything. They need to remain flexible for their own sake. Like, do you think they're unaware of the fact that the PS6 might be the hardest to sell PlayStation console in its history? They're hyper aware of that fact. They're hyper aware of the fact that there's a very good chance the PS6 and even your PlayStation handheld are going to get off to a very abysmal start. But here's the more important part. Look at the overall success. Look at the overall success of the PlayStation brand and business. And I'll ask you this honestly. If it was your job, it's your salary on the line, where your job is to look over everything from the PS1 all the way up to where we are right now with the PS5. And your job is to determine, going into the PlayStation 6, we need to have the most surefire strategy we can come up with. You would, if you had any sense, you would look at the history of PlayStation and you would agree with everything they're doing here. Because even though there is no guarantee, the alternative comes with a level of risk that you'd be out of your mind to dive into. Because think about it like this. Here's the alternative. The alternative is Hideaki Nishino comes out and says, starting 2027, we're going to be launching all of our first-party games day and date on both PlayStation console and PC. All of our games. Okay? He comes out, he says that. Well, you just took away. There are quite literally. All right, let me not use the term literal because that's actually the wrong term to use. There are potentially millions of PlayStation users that are going to say, well, I didn't even know if I was going to upgrade to the PS6 to begin with. But now that they're saying they're going day and date on PC, one of the only reasons I may have considered looking to upgrade to the PS6 is gone. I mean, if you think about it, this basically boils down to, if you were to place your bets right now, what are you betting on? Are you betting on Sony going back to their tried and true strategy will once again work for them with the PlayStation 6 and the PlayStation handheld? Or are you betting against it, saying, I think what worked for them for 5 generations, this is where it stops? And they're gonna learn that the hard way through realizing that no matter how many exclusives you have, the market has changed and it's just not going to help you this time. That's basically where we're at. So what I'm trying to say is that Hideaki Nishino is going to leave that window open. And this is why I don't blame people for acknowledging that he's not really, like, he is kind of very subtly leaving that window open. Very, very subtly. In his quote, the last quote he says, or the last portion of his quote, he says, quote, regardless of which platform a title is released on, our decisions will be guided by the principle that players should receive the best possible experience, one that maximizes the strength of that particular game. Even the way he starts out his quote, he says, platform selection has always been determined based on the characteristics of each individual title. And I understand. I completely understand that when people read that, they're like, that sounds like case by case. Make no mistake, he is leaving the window open. Because I'm here to tell you, as the big PlayStation Sony pony fanboy, that if 5 years into the PS6 generation, it's looking abysmal, and it sells 40 million units, and it's struggling to even get to 50 million, Sony will literally, they're going to get aggressive. They're going to break glass in case of emergency. They're going to, whether they embrace Steam or not, who knows, but they're going to go on PC. They're going to take the PlayStation ecosystem and they're going to expand the ecosystem, not the games, the entire ecosystem beyond the console. And Steam could be a part of that if they want to continue to put individual games over there at some point. But I really do think that a lot of people don't understand that Sony's just hunkering down on what has worked for them. And you know how the saying goes, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I need to remind people that the reason why Xbox did things like Game Pass, put their games day and date on PC, and even eventually put their games on PlayStation is because the console model wasn't working for them anymore. That's why. Drastic times, yeah. How it goes, drastic times call for drastic measures. Top Shelf, you're saying, I wish I could defend it. PC boys still say it's a W. I mean, I guess. If you're on PC and you're like, I'll just wait. Okay. But my understanding is that you guys didn't really wait to begin with. I guess what I'm trying to say is the biggest complaint from PC players is why not go day and date? We're tired of waiting. And I don't blame them. It's like, are we going to get Ghost of Yotei a year from now or 4 years from now? Yeah, that's annoying. And I could totally understand why it's like by the time that happens, you're probably like, I don't even care anymore. I totally get it. Sound like you're saying, I don't know about you, but I'm a PlayStation Pegasus. Bro calls himself a PlayStation Pegasus. MBG, you don't have to interrogate corporate doublespeak, brother. It's the WRT of saying nothing while your lips are still moving. Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess I feel the need to do that in the same, you know how I said to you guys, the best thing Microsoft executives could do right now is nothing? The art. Okay. Yeah. So I misread that. I say that because it's like they've said so much in such a short period of time that has just spun everybody around that it's like you're at risk of making people not understand at all what you're doing if you keep talking. I mean, I do question why Hideaki Nishino used so much word salad there, but they're obviously this was a interview done with Famitsu. This was a question that they were told they could ask, and this was Sony's way of putting it out there. And I just think people need to understand that. And I said this in my video, and I'm going to say it here again. You can celebrate exclusives. You can despise exclusives. You can be, the fanboy. You can be the opposite of the fanboy, the person that's destroying the fanboys for celebrating exclusives, whatever. What everybody should understand, though, and hopefully if they don't, they will very soon, that there are much bigger problems in the short to midterm than whether or not games are going to be exclusive or not. There are much bigger problems for Sony, for Microsoft, for Nintendo, for PC, for the entire industry. And, I'm not saying stay in that zoomed out field of view at all times, but do just keep it in the back of your mind that, this isn't about, at least for me, I can't speak for other PlayStation fans. I'm only going to speak for me. This isn't about being like, put that in your pipe and smoke it, PC players. You ain't getting shit. Do you know why I'm not saying that? Because the PC players that I encounter, I guess mostly on Twitter, sometimes on my channel, that are expressing, it just sounds like it's a case-by-case basis, or they're still going to come to PC. I'm like, so you want Sony's games? You want PlayStation's games? I don't see that as a bad thing. I do too. But I genuinely do want to let the PC players who want Sony's games know that I don't think Ghost of Yotei is coming, guys. I don't think Saros is coming. I don't think Wolverine's coming to PC. I say this because when I listened to what Jason Schreier said, where he's like, make no mistake, Hermen Hulst made it clear. to everybody internally at PlayStation, like, these ports are canceled. That, and I get it. It's like, well, Jason Schreier's not Hideaki Nishino. I'm like, yeah, but he's Jason Schreier. He says he spoke to 2 people that were part of that meeting that told him this is exactly what Hermen said. I pair that with what Hideaki Nishino is saying, and I'm like, I don't know, guys. I'm just saying I wouldn't sit down and just hold out assuming that these games are coming. But, if you want to, go ahead. And who knows, 5, 6, 7 years from now, if the PS6 collapses, maybe they will. Never say never, but I guess where I stand is I'm taking everything that's being stated right now as we want to sell a next-gen console. We're going to use these games to do that. That's how I take it. It's like, okay, I mean, that makes sense to me. I hope it works. Jason Schreier's only right if it's bad news for PlayStation. Perfect Image, you're saying, MBG, what if Sony... Oh, hold on. What if Sony tech can't bring the game so fast or as fast as the PC boys want? People say Nixus, but what if it can't be done so quickly? This is the question. Well, I'll say this, Perfect Image. People do tend to forget that time and resource is required to port these games to PC. Now, don't get me wrong. It's a lower amount of money and time and resource. The amount of time, money, and resource it takes to port a AAA game like God of War Ragnarok that's already out on PlayStation to PC is nothing compared to how long it takes and how much money it takes to develop God of War Ragnarok. They're not comparable. But this is why I try to remind people, focus on the numbers. When all else fails and there's too much noise, too much hoopla, focus on the numbers. The numbers can't lie. The numbers tell you that Sony wasn't making shit on these ports. But make no mistake, they're paying to keep Nixus around to do those ports. They're giving them time, money, and resource to do those ports. And now Nixus has been redirected to being a support studio for PlayStation studios that are making these single-player games. So, I think a lot of people don't think about that. How does Capcom do it? Well, I mean, maybe there's some notes that Sony can take from Capcom. I think, honestly, Capcom has the experience that Sony doesn't, frankly. Like, for example, what is it, the RE engine? Is that what it's called? The engine that they use. It's like when they were making that engine, there were developers who were used to making games for PC working on that engine. Figuratively. So what I'm just saying, like, that engine was probably better prepped to be able to scale with PC more easily. Meanwhile, Sony's studios, they're all using like different individual engines, proprietary engines most of the time. Figuratively Literal with a super chat says the new Alinea report is interesting, saying that Astrobot is an evergreen title, estimating sales at around 4.3 million with higher crossover among casual live services. Astro is popular among new PS5 users. If that's true. I'm always skeptical of Alinea at this point. I don't know what to think of them. What I can say is if that 4.3 million number is true, that's fantastic. Like, considering it was one of these games where I think, people were questioning, is this game even going to be able to sell 1.5 million units? Like, is Sony's version of Mario here, so to speak? Is it really going to catch on? I loved Astrobot. I mean, I was like, dude, the nostalgia here, the way it's making me feel things, bro. This is awesome, and it's a fun game. I wanted to see it be successful. If those numbers are true, and if what Alinea Analytics is saying is true, that's great news. I hope that it's good to see Sony do something different and it finds success, because it serves as proof that Sony can do different things. Not everything they do differently is going to find success, but seeing that, I think it's a good example. Oh, come on. You can't hit me with the kid game stuff. I never said that. I never stop gaslighting. I just never said Nintendo was a trash kids machine. Stop. Trash kids machine, bro. Come on. It's just a trash machine. No, I'm just kidding. I have no quarrel with the Switch 2. It's not for me personally, but I have no quarrel with it. New Infamous when? I don't know. Apparently there's a remaster coming. PlayStation game sells 5 million copies. The internet says, LOL, what a flop. Every other third-party game sells 5 million copies. Internet, wow, what a success. I mean, I tried explaining this to people, dude. Like, I understand there are people that just Sony annoys them. PlayStation fans annoy them. PlayStation annoys them. I get it. But I have tried to explain to people that, like, if we're just being unbiased and just objective about our evaluations here, it needs to be understood that a single player game, or just a game in general, doesn't have to be single player, a game that I guess, would be qualified as AAA, certainly, that goes on to sell 4, 5, 6 million units on a singular platform is an objective success. I was talking about this with Ghost of Yotei. People were like, oh my God, Ghost of Yotei only sold, according to Alinea Analytics, 4.8 million copies. In, how many months has it been? It's going to come out October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So it's like 8 months. And I'm like, I don't think some of the people reacting to this understand, like, that's good. That is very good. Like, any publisher in the industry would consider that a major success across all platforms. Doesn't, is it as good as, like, selling 20 million? No. But this is where I think people just need to understand, like, how success is measured in the industry. Where, like, I mean, I see you're mentioning Sorrow selling, well, apparently it sold like 400,000. I'll tell you this, if Sorrow stays at 400 to 500,000 and doesn't move beyond that, yeah, that's not good. There's no way around that where it's like, it's something, but it's not good. Like, that does put the studio at risk. If it can eventually climb up to 1 million sales, and break even at the very least, that would be good for that studio where it's like, okay, it was looking spooky there for a second, but we don't know. And that makes me sad because Saros is a great game, dude. That's like the most depressing part of it all is like people who talk about Saros not selling well, not everybody, but some people who talk about it, it's like they make it seem like it's a bad game. I'm like, dude, this game is amazing. Like, gameplay wise, it's fantastic. One of the best. Like, Housemarque is great at what they do. So I just look at it as I hope they get the sales because I feel like they deserve it. I feel like they're a talented studio, man. And it sucks to see talented studios deliver good games, But hold on. It came down to people not wanting to pay $70 for a roguelike. And yeah, and that could be their big problem. Maybe that's why they say their next game might be smaller in scale, where they want to be able to internally justify a lower price point to get more people on potentially. And that could be a viable option for Housemarque. You think Saros is a very, very underwhelming story and narrative? I agree it wasn't nearly as strong as Returnals. Like, I can agree with that. I enjoyed the story. I didn't enjoy it as much as Returnals. I didn't have as much of a problem as people did with the story, though. Some people were making it sound like this game was awful. I'm like, to me, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, I kind of enjoyed it. I guess there were certain aspects of it that, people were losing their minds over. I'm like, I don't think it's that big of a deal, guys. But if Wolverine did under 8 million, would we think it's a flop? No. No, I mean, in my opinion, Wolverine should be a 10 million seller, not at first, like over, let's just say over the course of 2 years or even like a year and a half. Wolverine to me should be a 10 million seller. However, would the game be considered a flop if it sold under 8 million? Probably not. It depends on the budget. If it had a Spider-Man 2 budget, maybe. Knowing they're licensing it. But how come we don't talk about other significant releases on PS5? For example, Gothic Remake came out last week. It's a popular game with some issues. Yeah, I'm going to try to get back on track with that. It's been hard the past couple weeks because there's so much platform stuff happening. You know, it's like, it feels like we're in this weird holding pattern building up to the next gen consoles where it's like every week there's some new crazy info about like, oh, here's what's changing and here's the rumors we heard about what's going on. And you know, I get it. People want more game talk, and there will be more game talk coming up. There will be. I'm not familiar with Gothic, though, I have to admit. Oh, man. Matt York, you're saying the narrative isn't that much of a big deal. Those games are gameplay. Yeah. I saw some of that, Titus. So, yeah, the 72 minutes of unedited gameplay of State of Decay 3. I just wish the footage wasn't so compressed, but I like what I saw. I'm like, yeah, it still has like the jankiness to an extent of a State of Decay game, but I liked what I saw. I'm like, I am glad this game's coming to PlayStation. I'm excited for it. We just need a release date. That's all we need. I'm really excited at the idea of playing that online with, you know, friends as well. Like, I feel like it's been so long. It was like a streamer. That's the footage I saw. It was like a streamer, I think, that was playing the game. I did try DayZ. I couldn't do it. That game was too hardcore. I'm like, bro, what is going on right now? All right, where are we at? All right. Yeah, I might make it a bit of a shorter stream today. I'm not going to lie. My neck's bothering me a lot more today than it was. I don't know why. I didn't do anything. I probably slept weird or something, but I'm also, I feel like I don't know, it's a slower day. Or maybe it's just me. I can't tell. Sometimes I feel like the energy's off, but I can't tell if it's just me or if it's just like a wider reaching thing. But in the meantime, we can just chat. Let me get rid of some of this stuff here, though. I have too many, as usual, I have too many tabs open. Hold on. Hold on one sec, guys. So I want to really quick. Well, in order to continue this conversation, I'm on my Twitter account and I asked the question. I said, what do you think about Sony's strategy with their first party games? Internally developed single player games will be exclusive to the console. Live service multiplayer games will release on PS5 and PC. There's this reply that got a couple of upvotes. I'll read what it said. This person says, Sony CEO drops this vague, we'll decide case by case quote. He put that in quotes too, which is funny. It's funny. You know what? One of the funniest things to me is people who use quotes and don't know how to use quotes. It's like, I don't think you know how this works. But anyway, he says Sony CEO drops this vague quote, "We'll decide on a case by case," quote, and fanboys act like it's some big smart strategy. Nah, it's just corporate spin so they can keep doing whatever brings the most money with the least effort. They are not fixing their long-standing problems in their games. They don't listen to feedback and barely communicate. They know most people will be paying anyway, so why bother? It's the same old game. Milk the customers, give minimal value in return. That flexible strategy just means they're going to keep doing nothing while we keep hoping. We see through it. Hashtag Sony, hashtag PlayStation. And I'm like, it is interesting to me that like I could be wrong, but I'm like, I'm pretty sure you don't play on PlayStation, dude. Like I could be wrong. Maybe they do play on PlayStation, but I'm like, where? I don't know. My only assumption is that there are like these PlayStation players where they don't like I guess they really feel like they don't have anywhere else to go because it's like you don't have to buy any of this, man. And I understand that like that's kind of the point he's making where it's like they're just going to keep doing the bare minimum. They're just doing the bare minimum. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I look at Wolverine, I'm like, that doesn't look like the bare minimum to me. But that's the thing. It's just I realize I'm so interested to see what happens next because a group of people here is going to be wrong. And I'm so curious to see who's going to be wrong. Like, are the people who are basically assuming that the things Sony is doing is going to lead to their doom and demise, are they going to be wrong? Or are the people who believe that the things Sony is doing are fine or good and it's not that, like, everything's fine and it's going to continue to work fine, are they going to be right? But I have a feeling that if that is what ends up happening, like, people love Wolverine, it does great. People love God of War Lao Fei, it does great. The PS6 gets off to a decent start or a good enough start. Like, I feel like it's not going to change anything because those people are just going to be like, well, those are just sheep. And I'm like, or could it just be that people actually are not you? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like your view of PlayStation seems to be limited to this singular scoped down version of like everything they put out is bad. You're not interested in any, and I think there are just too many people that are struggling to accept that what they're doing just isn't for you anymore. And I totally understand why there might be a difficulty in moving on from that, where it's like you want to ask Sony to go back to doing things a different way. And that can be okay too. Maybe perhaps they will listen and they will do some of that. But it's like, I don't know, man. There are people that have this idea that like Sony needs to go back to making Killzone, Jack and Daxter, and like, another Resistance, and they need to reopen Japan Studio. And I'm like, I'm not saying they won't do any of those things, but it's like I just like you understand that none of those things found anywhere near the level of success that the things they're doing now have found. So the next best hope is this. Maybe Sony gets the message. Perhaps, maybe they now have the message where, okay, you have all these big things you're doing that are finding mass success or higher levels of success. Maybe take some of the extra money and capital you have and invest it in, okay, let's do like a Killzone or let's do another Jack and Daxter where it's not going to be a mega monolithic success, but it's something it's worth trying again. You know what I mean? I just think I think there's too many people that are like, I just want the PS3 again. I just want the PS2 again. And I'm like, you're not getting that. Like, I don't know. It's so like there are a million reasons why you're not getting that again. I'm not saying that means you can't express yourself. I'm just saying there's got to be some level of understanding here. I don't know. Like, to that person who genuinely believes that everything Sony does today is just shit, it's like, I don't think they're ever going to do anything to make you happy again, man. I'm serious. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. Because if you can't find anything good in what they're doing now, like nothing. I mean, look, what direction do you think this is going in? Most of their games ain't for me, but GTA is, so I'll play on PlayStation. That's fair. And I'm sure for a lot of people, that's how it'll be. And that's a fair, like, I think a lot of people can engage and do engage with PlayStation where they're not necessarily interested in everything or a lot of the things PlayStation's doing. But when I see people get really, you know, like they just seem upset about Sony, I'm like, I get it, but I get it to an extent. But I don't know. I just get the feeling if some of these people were running PlayStation right now, they'd be like, cancel Wolverine and shit. And I'm like, are you crazy? They're like, don't do a Horizon 3. And I'm like, why not? Figuratively literal, you're saying something more concrete backing it up. So Astro being back in the top 10 Famitsu charts in Japan with over 100K sold. That's good for PlayStation IP in Japan. I saw that. Yeah, I wonder what's causing the uptick in Astrobot in Japan. I think it's interesting that we're hearing a little bit about Astrobot. I'm like, I have a feeling Sony's going to try to really leverage Astrobot for the upcoming PlayStation 6 and especially the handheld. The Gaming Ledger, thank you for the super chat, buddy. You're saying, been tracking and writing about Xbox's PC pullback since last year. I took plenty of heat for it by PC and Xbox fans, but the signs were there long before Jason's article. It's business, not emotion. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, Gaming Ledger. A lot of people, I mean, I get emotional about it a lot, as you guys know. I mean, that's the nature of it, though. I'm not just purely a business. I'm not the head of a gaming company trying to run it. I know. Oh yeah, I know you meant PlayStation. I know you meant PlayStation. You wrote Xbox, but you meant PlayStation's PC pullback. I mean, it really is just business. It's like, it's so hard for, I try, man, like, and I get baited too easily. I try to interact with people on the internet where they're like, nah, bro, nope, this is just dumb and they're lying and this, and I'm like, you, like, brother, you please just take a moment, please, and understand that, like, PlayStation made $136 billion as a platform in 5 years with the PS5, or with PlayStation as a platform in 5 years, and 1.5% of that was from PC. And understand that less than 1.5% of that was from porting their single player games to PC. Probably less than 1%, probably less than 0.5%. 0.5%. Like, this isn't personal, It's not Sony being like, we hate PC, F you guys, we ain't giving you our games anymore. No, it's literally just like, we're better off, like, the money they're gonna save not doing that, the time they're gonna save. That, you know what they're probably thinking of? They're like, don't worry about PC ports, Nixus. We want you to help get these games out the door quicker. Go help this studio and that studio, whatever studio's next in line, go help them. That's probably what they're thinking of. And that, yes, that makes way more sense, where it's like, that probably will produce overall in the long term better financial results for you than what you've been doing. And that's the thing that nobody can accuse Sony of. Like, no PC players, anybody who is even a little bit upset, if they are upset, you can't accuse Sony of not trying. The only thing you can accuse Sony of that I can agree with you with is, but they didn't do day and date. Agreed. But maybe it's for the best they didn't, because if they did day and date, I would be very concerned about the PlayStation 6. I'd be like, man, it's fine. Like, it's good for the game. It's not going to hurt the game, obviously, but oh boy. You're doing day and date going into the PlayStation 6. The last company we saw do that was Microsoft, from the Xbox One into the Series consoles. And I'm not saying you would follow the same exact trajectory, but I can understand why you look at that and you're like, maybe we should not do that yet if we don't have to. Yeah. We have Rat saying Sony somehow lost Square Enix, Shift Up, and Persona. They need the first party exclusives nowhere near PC. Well, you're talking about Sony losing these third parties. There's a couple of things we have to understand. When it comes to Persona, there was never a deal, as far as I'm aware. It seems like Atlas chose PlayStation because it was just way more viable for them and made a lot more sense. It's like, this is where our games sell. Let's just partner with Sony. Why they chose to leave that, I don't know. I think it's stupid. I don't care. I don't play these games, but I'm like, okay, like your games, the success that Persona has found is on PlayStation, is because of PlayStation, like the PlayStation platform and people buying their games on PlayStation. If you think it's a better business decision to say we're now going to advertise the next mainline game in this long-running series that has sold as well as it has on PlayStation on the competition with Xbox, go ahead. I get it from a logical standpoint. It's like we want to try to expose this game to an audience that maybe isn't paying much attention to it. I get it. If you're Sony, this is a non. Oh, it's a Microsoft deal. Well, then there you go. Then that explains it. Hold on. Microsoft pay for Persona? I didn't think they did that. I didn't think Microsoft did that anymore. Or maybe they did it a long time ago. Let me see. It's okay, no. AI doesn't understand what I'm asking it. Let me see. Oh, okay, hold on. It says yes, Microsoft did pay for exclusive marketing and promotional rights to several recent Persona titles through a multi-million-dollar agreement with developer Atlas and parent company Sega. Microsoft secured premier billing to push the franchise into their ecosystem and onto Xbox. Onto Game Pass. I didn't know that. I was completely unaware. I thought for some reason like they just made that decision because they wanted to try to appeal to a new audience. Titus, you're heading out, man. Yeah, I'm going to be wrapping up here soon. Well, that makes sense. There it is. That's it. That's why Sony was like, we're not going to pay for that. And, to be honest, Sony has, I know it sounds shitty to say, but Sony has that leverage. We're like, go ahead, go take the money from from this company. That's fine. But where your games sell. We know where your games sell. We know where they're not going to sell. And I know that sounds cocky and pompous, but it is true. It's like if anything, you have to question why Microsoft paid for this deal. Because it's like, bro, what are you doing? Is Persona going to be day one in Game Pass? Now that would be a shocker. That'd be crazy. Perfect Image, you're saying I said this with the new SDK with Nixus Studios. Interesting. You did say that. When it comes to Square's a little different. My read, it's not an understanding because I don't have any information. My read on what happened between Sony and Square is Square basically had a tantrum. Like, it seems that Square was under the impression, and it's hard to fully blame them, but they really were like, our games are going to do like fucking 10 to 15 to 20 million on PlayStation. They're going to just kill it. And they didn't. And Square basically had a meltdown. They're like, what the fuck? The problem, though, is that there's no, like, I think basically Square's like, you know what, Sony? We tried, we believed, and it didn't work. So you know what? Forget you. Hey, Nintendo. That Switch 2 selling mighty good. You know, and they're like, they're going over to Nintendo. Let's see what happens. I mean, they might be right. That's the thing. Square might be right. It's like your games, Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3, maybe Kingdom Hearts 4. If you position these games to make it known they're completely multi-platform, maybe try to lean a little bit more into the Nintendo side, maybe they will sell better. Like, let's see what the sales of Final Fantasy VII Revelation look like now that everybody's aware this is launching simultaneously on everything. And yeah, if you're Square, that's what you need to do. That's what you need to do. Like, if you had this big deal with Sony and these big ambitions and it just didn't work out, Rebirth did not meet sales expectations. And these games are very expensive to make. Yeah, you got to go. You got to worry about your own studios and the health of your own franchises and your own stuff. And yeah, Sony's also not going to say, wait, no, don't leave. We'll pay you more money on a game that might not sell that great on our platform. I'll tell you what, the truth of the matter is Sony's like, if your game's struggling to sell here, that seems like, considering the, you know, how tight Final Fantasy and PlayStation's been over the years, I could, from Sony's perspective, they probably view that as like, Square, that might be a you problem, man. Maybe. We'll find out. If not, okay, then it was just a bad deal. It was a Square being on Sony problem. Some Sony fans won't buy the remake because they're not exclusive. No, that's not anybody who. My guess is anybody who's been excited for the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth remakes are going to buy it, whether it's exclusive. To be honest, I haven't seen anybody complaining. I mean that, dude. Like, I haven't seen a single person complain that this game's not exclusive. It seems like everybody is kind of on the same page where it's like, we'd rather just see the game given the best chance because it seems like Square has hit some very serious roadblocks that have put them in some kind of danger, you know? Juice Loose, you're saying EA are in the process of layoffs. Are you not going to tweet 20 times crashing out over them? High Horse MBG for the little guys with his little teeth. Why you got to talk about my teeth? Like Juice Loose. Why you got to talk about my teeth, bro? Did you know? Anyway, am I going to tweet 20 times? No. No, I'm not. So do me a favor, Juice Loose. Do me this favor. You ready? Keep paying attention to my Twitter. More importantly, keep asking questions. Keep paying me $2 a pop to ask me questions. Okay? And you can talk about my teeth if you want. But that's pretty low. That's pretty low, bro. Come on. Like, and just so you know, I'll put this out here too. You're the bad guy. I understand your whole tweet, or not your tweet, your direct donation. You said what you said to try to point the finger at me. MBG, you're the bad guy. You think you're on some high horse. You're actually the bad guy. You deciding to talk about my teeth. Sorry, bro. That makes you the bad guy. So just some advice for next time. Well, you can keep doing it if you want. That's all they got. That's the best they can do, bro. Like, they have such a hard time coming at me that they have to resort to talking about like my teeth or the way I look or something. It's like, are you people so fucking stupid? Like, and I'm genuinely asking this, like, you're so stupid that you don't realize that makes you look the most pathetic here? Like, you can't even come at me with something legit. Give me a real fucking argument. Like, cry that I tweet endlessly about Xbox. Fucking cry, keep crying. And come here and let me know. Let me know that you're paying attention. Because that's the whole point. You pay attention to me and my teeth. You want to hurt me? I know you're trying to hurt me with the teeth comment, but do you know what you do if you really want to hurt me? You know what? I'm not going to tell you. I can't tell you. All right, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. Should I tell him? Maybe not. Maybe you have some level of intellect. Maybe your IQ isn't that low. If you listen closely to everything I just told you, it's in there. The secret's in there. If you want to hurt me, the secret's in there. All right, maybe you could figure it out. Anyway, whoa, Mateto, you scared me for a second. Don't do that to me, Mateto. I'm just kidding. Yeah, so I don't know. Hold on. Okay. Glassdoor Gamer. No, Rat, you're saying I'm more angry on Shift Up, bro. Sony made your game. Well, that's the thing. Listen, people would always wonder why. Why does Sony allow stuff like this to happen? Well, it's a risk that they take. When Sony approached Shift Up and they said, yo, Stellar Blade looks fucking awesome, we want to sign. Like, we want to sign your game. When they said that shit, the only way, listen, man, the only way they were going to agree is we want to own the IP. This is where Sony has changed their strategy. We're back, well, not back in the day, but basically all the way up to the PS4 generation. The way Sony would do it is, listen, we will sign with you. We own the IP. That's the way they always did it. This generation, they decided we're going to do partnerships like that, but we're not going to own the IP. This is part of the reason why, to an extent, where you let Stellar Blade own the IP, so that way they'll agree to sign with you. But if they find success, they're out. They're out. They don't need you, bro. They don't need your money. They don't need nothing. They're out. They used you as a launching pad, and you let them because it helped you too. That's the reality of it. Now, if Sony did own the IP, Stellar Blade 2 would be an exclusive. But that's Sony's choice, man. Like, Sony didn't have to make it exclusive. Sony didn't have to pay them anything. They didn't have to strike any deal. The moment they said, we don't want to give you our IP, you know, Sony could have just said, okay, then these negotiations are over and walk away. And that's fine. But that's the reality. Is it's the same thing with Helldivers. Well, actually, no, it's the opposite with Helldivers. My bad. Helldivers is owned by Sony, the IP. Arrowhead is not. So it puts, you know, it's in this awkward position where, like, we can make another Helldivers, but do we really want to do that? It's like with the Bloodborne IP. Like, do we want to do that without the talent? That the original talent. So the original talent still has some leverage, but they can't, like, Arrowhead can't just go make Helldivers 3. They have to go through Sony. But that's what's interesting is these days Sony seems to be okay with, you know, making these decisions. Potato, you're saying, hey, MBG, what I don't understand is why Sony's statement yesterday was so ambiguous. It clearly states that live service games will continue coming to PC, but when it comes to single-player titles, it only says they'll be handled on a case-by-case basis. My answer to that, Potato, is because Sony, Sony wants to go back to using their big single-player games to try to sell their console. And that console that they want to sell is the PlayStation 6. But if they try to do that, like let's just say for the first 3 or 4 years of the PS6, they put out this aggressive marketing of like happens on PS6 or whatever, only on PlayStation 6, all this stuff. If they do this and it just doesn't move the needle at all, and then their game sales are also lower, and it's just looking real bad, you know? If that happens, I mean, you can kind of begin to see why they're like, yeah, we're going to have to go beyond the console. I don't know. Like, I guess the reality is if Sony wanted to, they could have come out and they could have said, listen, we're going back to only on PlayStation for our single player games. They could have just said that. But I mean, I know it sounds kind of silly, but I feel like Hideaki Nishino was just being honest. I know that's like antithetical to like how corporates speak, but like he really was just kind of like, yeah, we're going to evaluate each game. We want our in-house single player games to enhance the value of PlayStation. What is PlayStation? PlayStation is the console. The PlayStation is literally the hardware. The PlayStation ecosystem does not exist outside of the hardware. So, in a way, Mateto, what he said could actually hint that their long-term backup plan, their break glass in case of emergency, is, oh, yeah, no, it's the year 2032. We're announcing PlayStation, the PlayStation app for PC, PlayStation app for your TV, for your phone. And when you boot it up, it turns, just like Microsoft does right now, any one of your devices into a PlayStation. And people will be like, you said you were going back to exclusives just for the console. And it's like, actually, if you read what we said it was to enhance the value for PlayStation. When we said that, PlayStation was only isolated to the console, to the PlayStation console. PlayStation is now beyond the console. I mean, I know that's like super semantical, but I feel like that's why they write these. That's why they say these things the way they do. Where they're like, it seems like Sony's like very careful, like don't paint yourself into a corner. However, I think it's easy for them to say, of course, our live service games are always going on PC. Because yeah, like you may as well name drop Xbox and say they'll go on Xbox too. Because look at the struggles you've had. You know, like in live service games need players. So hopefully that answers that, Mateto. Plan's a plan until it's not the plan. That's basically what he said. Oh, here we go. Another $2 donation from I will continue to take your money. Let's see. Juice Loose says, here's $2 more since you seem to need it. Members cheaping out on you as usual. He's trash talking my members. Okay. You're saying Penguin's on top, 19 million subs, and you botted to what? I botted to 100K. LMAO. I did not bot to 100K, bro. Come on. He was right. What do you mean he was right? This is a second person saying that did I miss something? Dude, bro, I'm like dead serious. Did I miss something? Like, Anyway, I appreciate the $2. Thank you for the $2, you scumbag. $2 is $2. I'll spend your money. All right. Glassdoor Gamer saying the machine only cares about PlayStation. We about to eat good. He's a hardware guy and he loves exclusives. Notice he talks about experiences. Bro, I saw Nishino getting crushed because there was like a quote. He said, I believe a game console is still necessary to game or something like that. Let me see if I can find the quote because people were like some people were spazzing out that he said this because the way, I don't know, maybe it's a bad translation, but the way it sounds is so funny. Like he's making it sound like the only way you can game is through a console. Hold on, I know Genki Japan posted it. Where is it? Oh yeah, so says PlayStation CEO Hideaki Nishino says he still believes game consoles are needed to play games, and he wants to provide new experiences like portable play that fit modern lifestyles. So he basically confirms the PlayStation handheld. Quote, my belief that a game console is necessary for playing games remains unchanged. I think we can create something interesting by utilizing technologies that can be used in various forms and locations to develop new game console experiences. For example, while PlayStation is strongly associated with playing on a TV in the living room, we developed the PlayStation Portal to enable comfortable gameplay in other locations as well. We want to constantly take on new challenges so that we can provide gaming experiences that fit diverse lifestyles. But it's what he said up front that people, I think, find kind of funny. He's like, my belief that a game console is necessary to play games. Bitch, you can't play games if you don't got a game console. I mean, I guess that does make sense coming from the head of PlayStation. What else do you expect the head of PlayStation to say? Huh? Glassdoor, did I miss your other super chat? Hold on. Oh yeah, I'm sorry, bro. Glassdoor, you said, remember when they said Astrobot was a flop? 4.3 million? I don't, it's Alinea saying that. Alinea Analytics is the one saying that. I keep saying, if that number's true. Relax, Ryder. Relax. If that number's true, that's good. He got cooked online for that. Then he talks about a handheld device. I believe a console is necessary to game. But I didn't say nothing about a handheld. What's Nishino doing out here, bro? Somebody stop this man. This is why Sony only lets him talk once a year. Jim Ryan did irreparable damage. Sony has PTSD because of the stuff Jim Ryan would say. Remember that time Jim Ryan was like, we promise to all Horizon buyers a free upgrade to the PS5 version if you buy it on PS4. To then a year later be like, yeah, it's gonna cost you $10, and people were like, what? And he's like, wait, never mind. Oops. You're right. I did say that. I did say it would be free. My bad. I mean, God. I just realized PlayStation's betting on a portable more than the PS6 and how much it costs to produce the PS6 compared to the portable. That juice person has the mods blocked so we can't see his chats. I mean, that's the thing. I have direct donations open so people can get shit through if they want. But that's okay. Here's the thing. I don't want that shit in my chat. Because, I don't want people to interfere with the chat. If people want to directly donate money to talk shit to me, I welcome that. I don't encourage it, but it's like, okay, yes, I'll take your money. Because it's like, what do you think you're going to accomplish here? The only thing they're accomplishing is reaffirming that, I mean, look, man, are there things that live in my head? Yes. You guys don't want to know the things that live in my head. Well, you probably end up finding out anyway. But it's like, yeah, I know there's people out there where I live in their heads too. And I'm not even trying to. I don't mean to. I apologize. That's not my intention. But it's like, come on, man. I shouldn't have to be the one to tell you. I got spiders in my ears, bro. God, that's... All right, now you just up. Now I'm upset. Come on, don't be talking about spiders in my ears and my head and shit. Oh yeah. No, well, I assume that's where they come from, Gaming Survivor, and that's fine, dude. If people want to listen, if other content creators are okay sending their viewers here to donate money to me, okay. Like I would be okay without the money. I don't need their money, but it's like if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to stop you. So I'd say it's like, okay, talk about my teeth, talk about my baldness, like hurt me, please, hurt me. Don't hurt me. I don't want to be hurt no more, bro. Come on, stop hurting me. If you're gonna hurt me, pay me money. That's what it boys. If you want to hurt me, pay me money. No, but I mean, look, man, I do think people need to get. Oh, hold on. I do think people need to calm down. Calm down. We're talking about video games. Like, who hurt you? I did. I hurt them. Nishino is reversing the damage the colonizers did, says Glassdoor Gamer. That's a way to put it. Glassdoor Gaming or Gamer, that's a way to put it, bro. Newso9 is saying, give Ryan some slack. He has Alzheimer's disease. I mean, Jim Ryan made good decisions at one point. But Jim Ryan's ambition was fucked. The problem is Jim Ryan lacked a foundational respect of like PlayStation's overarching history. And I think that was revealed when he was like laughing at remember that famous quote from him before he was the head of PlayStation where he's like, who the hell would want to play this? In reference to like Gran Turismo 2. And I'm like, bro, I'm not saying you're not allowed to think and feel that way, but why would you say that? Why would you say that to your why? You didn't have to say that. I'm telling you, man. Jim was the kind of guy when he was interviewed, he's like, it's great that we get 10 million people playing our games, but 100 million would be better. And I'm like, tells us a lot, doesn't it? Sure does. Corey, what's up, man? Well, I said like 20 minutes ago we were going to wrap up, but you know what? We're approaching the 3-hour mark, so I think this will end up being a 3-hour stream today. We have 7 minutes. All right, so I'll just hang out with the chat for 7 more minutes. If you guys want to drop any more support before we wrap up, feel free to do that, and then we'll probably be back here Sunday. Hermen can't be trusted. He canceled the Spider-Man DLC. I think the Spider-Man DLC was canceled because, we talked about this the other day. Like, that game was way over budget. And I think they just figured, like, we're not putting any more money into this. We'd rather put it into something like Spider-Man 3 or the Venom game. You know? That's my guess anyway. Mateto, that's a crazy way to put it. Matt, you're saying they're just trying to get the chat or trying to get me riled up. That's it. They'll pay $1 to get you going. I mean, I get it. Like, people like when I get riled up, man. I mean, look, people could say, listen, you can't, I'm going to say this, all right? You can't look at my content and look at my channel and say, this guy's so boring. Oh my God, he's so boring. But then, at the same time, bring me up on your channel or whatever and react to my content and laugh and have a good old time. You know what I mean? It's an oxymoron. It's like, which is it? So, you know, I get riled up sometimes. I have my moments, but I don't know, man. It's just at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, what are we? We're talking about video games here. Talking about video games. How serious can it be? I mean, really, how serious can it really be? Well, no, I'm not saying I have a problem with the reaction content. I'm just saying it's like it's weird to it doesn't make any sense. It'd be like if I brought something up on screen and I'm like, let's watch this together, and it's really boring. And I'm like, man, this sucks. This is boring. But let me keep bringing it up anyway. It's like that. Then it must not be that boring. There must be something there. You get what I'm saying? No, I don't think there's anything wrong with reaction content. To be honest, I think reaction content. I mean, it's a completely viable part of the internet and like content creation. It's just like anything else. It's how is it being done? How is it being handled? You know, the long arm of the law sees everything. Oh, you mean rage baiting and fighting with each other? Yeah, and I know it's highly monetizable, and it's the low hanging fruit. You know, um, even I've engaged with it a little bit here and there, but I never feel satisfied with it. You know what I mean? Every time I've tried to do that, I'm like this, and it's like I'm not trying to make it seem like I'm better than anybody or anything. I mean, there are some people I'm definitely better than, but generally speaking, it's like I just don't feel satisfied with it. You know, like my ultimate goal here on the channel, for as laughable as it may be for some people, is like I would just like to get to a point where I mean, I'll always likely be a PlayStation channel because that's where I play, but I just want to be able to like continue to deep dive into a lot of these topics. What I have discovered over the years, though, is that, especially where we are now, and it's kind of like what Titus brought up earlier, it's like deep diving on the platforms themselves has become fucking toxic. Maybe it's always been toxic, but it's now made its way to where like it doesn't matter which platform you're covering, there's going to be some level of toxicity to it. And I guess maybe now that just comes with the territory. But I don't know. I can't help that I do enjoy, you know, I've always enjoyed deep diving on not every platform, but specifically PlayStation, Xbox, occasionally Nintendo, and occasionally PC as well. What about reactions of reactions? I mean, it's viable. I mean, we're going layers deep here, but it's viable. You know? Well, there was something I was going to say. I totally forgot what I was going to say. What was it? What was it? Oh, yeah. So I came across a few clips of mine. Like I garnered a couple of clips of mine. Where, I mean, dude, these are clips from 2, 3, 4 years ago. You should hear some of this shit I was saying. I'm like, dude, I'm not trying to be pompous about it, but it's like, I literally called it. Like, and I realized, man, nobody would go find these clips. And I don't blame, who would? Even I am not the first person to think about doing it. But some of these clips, I'm like, yeah. You watch Excusey, who will react to Asmon, reacting to Hassan, reacting to Destiny. That's insane. Dude, that's like 4 or 5 layers deep, bro. All right, Rich. Yeah, we're going to be... All right, yeah, so we're about to hit the 3-hour mark. This is where I think we're going to, wrap it up here. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. Thank you to everybody who showed up today and hung out and chatted with me. Really appreciate your support. Make sure you hit that like button as you're heading out. Thank you to everybody who dropped any support today, except that one guy. Fuck that guy. I appreciate the money. Thank you to anybody who dropped memberships, super chats, direct donos, all that good stuff. Can't do what I do here without you guys. So we'll probably take a rest day tomorrow. We'll be back Sunday. Next week could be crazy. We know the GTA pre-orders are happening. Who knows if we're going to get a new trailer. So we'll see. June has been a crazy month so far. So we'll see how it's going to wrap up. But yeah, thank you guys. Almost right. Devil Shooter. I was like, I'm forgetting something. What am I forgetting? Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps for the streams. If you guys see Devil Shooter in the comments, make sure you give him some thanks. Show him some love. I know he appreciates it. Devil Shooter, thank you so much for what you do, man. And that's it. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day, evening, or night. I will catch you all in the next one. Until then, take care, everyone.